What is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and Brian Scarborough, Fixed Air Moon, here for Deep Spiritual Tarot for this week of March 13th through the 19th, 2023, in the weird world that we live in. This is, of course, the show where we are going to go into what is going on for your sun sign. Going to be pulling the tarot. Brian's going to be doing the astrology, and we will be pulling it from the High Vibe Gold Chalice. And then afterwards, we do our show, which is Overtime Spiritual Daddy. And the topic today is going to be financial collapse. A lot of people are asking about it. Of course, you can follow Brian by going and finding him anywhere at Fixed Air Moon. And you can find all my content at High Vibe TV on the app or the website, or my Pluto Masterclass at highvibetvschool.com that I'm doing right now. I just did another class. How you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing pretty good. Kind of a weird setup tonight. Everything was kind of like here and there, but such is life, such is the world. So doing all right. I don't know, kind of weird. I got a lot of 12th house going on, so I'm just trying to flow, just trying to be like, all right, can't figure everything out, whatever, but so it goes. Ready for the show though.
Driving in the snow with no windshield wipers working.
Yeah, no defroster.
Although we are all in the 12th house with all this Pisces, so very, very much always paying attention to the subconscious and what is really, where are we fucking our own self over? That's always where 12th house teaches us, where we self-undo. So it's going to be weird times. I know there's a lot of people out there freaking out about a lot of things. Remember, that's the Matrix, and now the universe is telling us where to go inside, so don't worry so much about the Matrix. Let's see who the first zodiac sign is going to be for this week. And this is a big week. I mean, this is like the fuck show week, I call it. You'd think it's been crazy, but already this is the last full week of us with Pluto and Capricorn next week. Pluto and Aquarius, and more importantly, the biggest T-square to Mars coming out of this shadow and squaring Neptune. It's all happening in the next, this Tuesday and Wednesday here. It's going to be nuts. So trying to prepare you the best for remembering to stay calm and be good. Cancer risings is the first one to come up. Boy, oh boy, man! All this water in the Scorpio moon this weekend. It was just kind of like this whole weekend just felt like. I don't know if it felt like that for you at all, but it was fucking like.
Yeah, big time. It was a good weekend though. We celebrated Lauren's birthday and it was fine. Just definitely energetically.
Yeah, it was very just like weather the spiritual energy by just chilling out. And I actually was like, oh, I guess this is what it's going to be. But I will say on Saturday, it was just like such an odd feeling that it was kind of anxiety ridden. It was like, there's definitely some weird shit going on behind the fucking realms. So, all right, Cancer, let's see what's going on. Of course, on every reading, I pull what's going on spiritually. We're going to see through your career, then your relationships, and overall, and then what's happening, of course, with where you're at in Avalon, your shadows. All right. First card you got here is the Page of Cups in reversed. You got that also with the Four of Pentacles in reverse, and you got a Three of Swords reversed. I feel like you're just going to be facing a lot of things that you have to let go of, and it might not look good, but it actually is going to end up good. That Three of Swords reversed, reminding yourself you don't want to stay in anything right now or put too much emphasis on anything overall spiritually right now where you're not happy and that you're holding on too much. That Page of Cups reversed, though, it's almost like you, especially being a Cancer, it's almost like I'm going to have to actually say something about it, or I'm going to have to actually, not be the most positive about it. Well, yeah, sometimes in life, you're going to have to take on things that are emotionally difficult to talk about. You need to start worrying more about your own happiness and your own self and be open to where things could go. Because I feel like there's just been, too much of a stranglehold on trying to keep things a certain way. For your career, you got the King of Cups upright with the Queen of Cups in reverse. That's kind of interesting with an Ace of Wands. So I feel like career is where to pay attention to and focus to, although it's not maybe your end all be all of your safe, secure place right now, but there's a lot of inspiration coming. Maybe even a lot of opportunities is what I'm feeling here. But again, I feel like you're trying to find a safe space. And I'll be honest with you, it's probably in the area where you can't compensate for one place in my life to another. It's all coming to this relationship reading, which is where I'm feeling it already. 10 of Pentacles upright with the Ace of Pentacles with the Knight of Swords. So that is really the most positive part of this reading here. Finding that place where you can create that Ace of Pentacles, the new opportunities coming about relationships, but also that Knight of Swords. It's going to act really fast. It's going to be also at the same time, what are you trying to save or rescue? What are you trying to fix? You know, it almost feels like, you know, you could be, are you dealing with somebody that's doing that? Oh, you could, that's kind of weird. You might be dealing with somebody who's not putting enough effort or attention into things or seeing the beautiful things that could be coming together, and you're trying to fix everything, and it's causing you to have to be stern and say what you need to say. You also could be feeling like somebody's not really seeing you for who you really are. Overall, 4 of Wands in reverse with the Queen of Wands upright. That's kind of interesting. I do feel that, again, it's not about the destination here. It's about the destination in yourself. Like, you are the one that can carry your own happiness. It's not about what's the event that I have to do or go through that will bring me some sort of place that will make me feel happier and so forth. That's definitely not where to be focusing your energy. I would say this week is definitely a week where, you know, you need to be valued, number one, in your relationships, but number two, you also have to be focused on the opportunities for your destiny, your work. And this also is, you know, a lot of clearing out still with Mars. That's going to be the center point of focus this week. That's in your 12th. And I do feel that you do have to learn to communicate more directly about things that are probably difficult for you to deal with in all areas of your life. But especially stop focusing on what the results are and start focusing on what the moment and the integration of your own happiness is. Where are you in Avalon this week? Let's see here. What did I get? Well, you got Camelot. Well, okay. You're on your way to finding your place that you want to get to in life. Remember, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in Camelot. It's about really understanding the mission and goal of the magic this life. It's, again, weird though, because in Camelot, especially on this card, it says it's an aspiration. It's the honor to even have it. But it's almost like, are you following that aspiration, that honor to get there? You know, it's looking at Avalon. It's not in Avalon. So it's one of those things to where it's like you're looking towards where you want to go in life, but it's almost like you're not embedding that into yourself, or you're not fully going for it, or you're afraid of what the results might be. Your shadow this week is Peace Among the Thorns. This is a card that I think speaks really highly. Again, staying in a place where you're trying to find comfortable with how uncomfortable it really is. That's not a really good Cancer trait, nor is it a good Cancer way. So, I feel like you become at peace with being okay with things that you're not happy with. And I think you're afraid to speak about it. That's the main thing here. You're afraid to honor your own self in many ways. Let's see what your major arcana is going to be for this week here. Let me see what's going on with these cards here. Ooh. Okay. What do we got here? You got the World card. That is completions and new beginnings. So it does feel like you've reached the credits and it's time to roll the script to a new way of how you're overall being in this life this week especially. It feels like there's a culmination point here and everything's about to burst. Don't be afraid. Remember that, scripts come to their end and cycles come to their end, and it's time to be way more open and see the bigger picture and make it real. But there's got to be losses of things that are old that are no longer working in order to step into that new. You did get the sun in the second house. Yeah, knowing your worth and your value, you're going to have to step up this week into that, knowing your self-worth, and more importantly, actually integrating things into your physical reality. Boom.
All right, Cancer. Well, this is the final week until Pluto comes into your 8th house. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, it will come back into your 7th, but it is that final week here. So maybe you're seeing some big relationship stuff. Maybe things are getting intense. Maybe there's a strong magneticism that's happening, or also a repulsion that's happening when it comes to other people. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think, the big thing this week is between your 12th house and your 9th house, that sun's going to square Mars from your 9th to your 12th. Mars is, getting ready to finish up. Final week of Mars in your 12th house. It's also squaring Neptune in your 12th. And your ruling planet, the moon, currently, is starting to get ready for its square over there tomorrow to make a big T-square with an opposition to Mars in your 12th from your 6th. to your ninth. So there's a lot of pressure, I think, in terms of your beliefs, your visions, almost feeling like, you know, it can feel very mentally draining at the same time, very emotionally mentally draining, because maybe you're trying to have so much expand, but maybe you're just not seeing it fully right now, or you have a big dream or a big, you know, outlook of how you want it to go, but you feel like, gosh, is that even possible to get there? Is it even possible to get to that place? And I think that, you know, it is possible. It just takes patience. It's almost like you can want to go on this big journey now, but maybe it's not the spiritually, like the divine time to go take that action or take that initiative to go, you know, take on whatever that is that you might want or whatever that adventure is. So I just think you gotta be okay with keeping a big mindset, but being okay with things maybe not being as big as you'd like them to be right now. It's almost like you have to finish up some contract situations before, you know, maybe something will open up that you're really trying to see this vast, you know, expanse take place. But yeah, I think that it's not a terrible week for you. I think that Mars in your 12th finishing up is going to be the hardest part. And of course, it's getting squared by the sun. That Neptune energy, it just, you got to let things go at the same time. You don't want to be so dogmatic or, you know, pretentious about a situation that you believe is the one, you know, way it has to look. I think being mutable, this is in a lot of your cadent houses. So, you know, being ready for the next shift, but maybe not having to feel like you got to make it all happen right now. Like that journey's just about to get popping. But it can feel a little sticky and a little slow this week for you.
Well, let's not forget that America is a Cancer, and as Saturn has left Aquarius, that it had some sort of like, thought it had control on financial aspects, and Pluto's coming in next week.
Yeah,
Too big to fail. Now let's not bail out the banks, but let's just use a bunch of money, Fed money, and let's just give everybody their money, but not the bank. And it's almost like too big to fail on all these things without realizing the repercussions of what's going to happen and all these things, and not a lot of info. And so as a Cancer, I'd be careful about, especially things start popping up, whatever are 8th house issues, financial, real truth, what you really feel, what you really want. So I feel like you're not like, you know, use America as an example. You know, there's no crisis. No, there's a crisis. You know what I mean? You're just not wanting to face it fully.
Yeah, it could be a little delusional right now, but it'll clear up.
The journey and the adventure is getting out of the crisis, that you're going to have to do moves that, you know, hurt because they go against what you think is the best way, or that you've accumulated in your belief systems that need to be checked. Aquarius rising is next. Speaking of Aquarius, in that 8th house for Cancers. Aquarius. We got an Aquarius moon too, as America. Talk about all the aspects in America. Plus the sun Chiron just squared the sun in America. Or Jupiter Chiron. Oh man. So, Aquarius, how you doing out there? I think Aquariuses are not doing too bad. Let's see. What do we got for you? 3 swords reversed. 2 of pentacles. The Hermit reversed. I think, again, this is going to be a week for you where it's not as bad as you think it is. It also is, though, that I don't think you have all the info that you're trying to understand here. You have to do some deeper, I think, digging up, per se, here, I would say, of how to balance everything in your life out here. I do feel like, you know, you're trying to make this happen and that happen, and you're trying to do everything too much at the same time. It's like one thing that you can do at a time and another, and you're going to gain more understanding and perspective here. But I do feel like there's nothing to be too terrified of here, except for continuing your own demise and over-focusing on how things should be. It's got to be a balance. It's got to be in rhythm. 7 of Skulls, 7 of Pentacles in reverse for your career. 5 of Pentacles upright. So this, the High Priestess, I feel like that's where maybe you're having the most fears about your career right now. And I feel that it's definitely feeling like there's some weird situation here that you don't feel like you're getting your return, or you feel like you're having to work and you're not getting a return. I think you got to up your value here. I think that you actually know spiritually that you are powerful. And I feel like I mean, I love this card because it does do the Five of Pentacles the best. It does feel like just some beast is just taking advantage of you in life, but I do feel like the High Priestess here is reminding you you're much more stronger and powerful than you are with your career, and you have to start using it. I feel like you're not using your value or using your innovations or your skills enough, or it could be where you need to ask for a raise, or you need to know your value in your own career if you have your own business and raise your prices, something like that. Stop working so much and not getting the return. You might be overworking and not getting anything, or you're just waiting for some miracle to happen, and that ain't going to happen. It's you that is the miracle here. You did get in your relationships 9 of Cups in reverse with a Knight of Cups upright with the Emperor. So I do feel like you're going to have to take a stance in your relationship places and move emotionally where you need to, but if you're dealing with a partner that's maybe not feeling on the same level as you, or you're trying to, again, you're not feeling happy about where you are in your relationship place, it's like, are you doing what you need in your career and in your overall energy of understanding balance and understanding? For me, I'm picking up that it's like, you need to keep moving towards a goal in life, and you need to stop feeling like, I don't know, a relationship's in between that, or maybe focusing too much on somebody else's happiness right now. You need to focus on where you need to go, and without demanding that somebody else, you could be feeling that somebody's not giving you the emotions that you want. Why? Ace of Cups in reverse. Yeah, you need to know how to self-regenerate your own emotion. And maybe it's the illusion that there isn't support when there's support. They just do it in their own way, or maybe you have to look at your own self and how you're putting yourself out there and why people aren't wanting to respond to you emotionally the way that you want to. Your overall that you got this week is you did get a Knight of Pentacles in reverse with a Queen of Swords in reverse. So again, I think overall here is, I think that you need to keep it simple. And I think that you're trying to, you feel stuck. You don't feel like there's clarity, but really that's not the truth. I feel like it's like, keep it simple. Don't expect too much out of others, but expect more out of yourself, and expect more of putting yourself much more in a place to where you can actually get where you need to go and raise your value up here. Because I do feel like your career, it's almost like you know it, but you're too afraid to implement it. Or you're just doing a bunch of the same shit that's really not getting a same return on investment. You need to change something that you're doing up about your work. And Avalon, where are you at this week? You are, all right. You are here with Nimue. I mean, Nimue is one who actually understands what the people want. She was somebody who actually, I was down the Camelot lane my past life this weekend very deep. But Nimue was somebody who understood the people and knew how to communicate that to the court. I think that you understand what people need, but you need to realize that you're not here to just keep delivering what everybody needs and giving it to some higher power to somebody else. You have an opportunity here to actually be a connecting force to the people. I think you need to embrace that even more. Even if you say you are doing it, I feel like you can more. Your shadow this week is revenge. Again, and that might be about your relationship thing. Like, oh God, people aren't doing what I want to, or they're not responding the way I want to. They're not emotionally doing what I want to. Let that go. You definitely don't want to be in a place where you're trying to get revenge, or you're unhappy about some situation and you're trying to, equal it out. I would not try to don't become the equalizer here. Don't become John Wick. You know what I mean? You did get the Wheel of Fortune. It does feel like things are turning in crazy directions for you, but that's all good. Accept the turning of the directions. This is here to bring you the fortune that's actually bringing you the next story that you've been wanting in your life. So stop tripping and start getting back to simplicity and allowing things to just turn. You did get 12th house here, Mercury. So it does feel like you are very confused. It does feel like, but you do have to understand what's happening. It's one of those moments here where it might seem like you can't see what's on the other side, but that's the whole point, is you're kind of going through some transition here that is spiritual, and you're not going to know exactly what it looks like. So make that fun, make that exciting instead of tripping out about it.
All right, Aquarius. Well, that's Sun Neptune's meeting up in your second house. So there's definitely maybe a lot of, delusion or just interesting thoughts around money. Maybe that's, correlates with the career stuff that the tarot reading is bringing up. Maybe it's just self-worth. Maybe it's not feeling confident or like kind of being, shy right now. I think you really want to amp up your self-worth and your value as much as you can, not in like a delusional way, but definitely feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling good. And, with Mars in your fifth getting the squares, you got to like make sure that your heart's in the right place too, and that you're acting from a place that is in alignment with your heart, with what makes you happy, with what makes you feel good. Happiness and value should, be on the same page. And that's hard sometimes because sometimes we'll do things that we think are going to make us feel good that don't actually make us happy. I think this is one of those weeks where you want to look at that in your life and not just delusionally go about something because maybe you think it'll get you high on some hopium, that it's going to bring your confidence up or make you feel good. It's like, no, my heart actually wants this. This will make me feel good. And I don't think, with the moon here in your 11th and Sag making that big square and that big T square, people are not always a reflection of your self-worth, right? Sometimes, especially for Aquarius, maybe you could think that, people are, my tribe, if I'm not getting a good reflection from that, it's all on me. I don't know. Maybe not. But I feel like, you need to come back to yourself and make those calls and not let other people kind of push you down. And then think about like Pluto, it's about to come into your sign next week. So it is a big like time to find empowerment, but you might be going through a big identity shift right now too. Maybe that's something that's going to carry over, and that could change career aspects. That could change a lot of different things, or where you put passion, energy, a lot of aspect within self-worth and value. So there's a lot going on for you. And I think you just got to stay confident in the midst of transformation and hold your worth, hold your value, and know that that'll get you wherever you got to go.
I always like to think of Pluto when it came into Capricorn in 2008, and Tiger Woods thought he was the best golfer in the world, and then we found out he wasn't. So you have to let go of a story here of who you think you are, Aquarius, and that's okay. And don't try and attach to the story of who you think you are that hasn't been working or that you thought you were at your peak. There's a whole different story, and it's important to remember. Think of Mel Gibson, too, at the beginning of that transit. We got Libra rising next. I know that's scary, though. I'll be honest with you. Even though I'm about to have the opposition, I'm having the opposition right now. But I shit. I'll be honest with you. I would not be looking forward to Pluto, my sign, for 20 years. But it is what it is. Pluto is not fair. Remember that. All right, Libra rising. What's going on with you all out there? Finding the true self is what I believe you all are doing, and not the false light. If you're in my Pluto Masterclass, you'll understand Pluto in the 4th and the 5th and how that's the false light. So, let's see. Magician upright. 5 of Pentacles reversed. 5 of Cups reversed. Honestly, this is great. This is the magic that you can go create, but I think you're going to have your own subconscious pitfalls of past things going bad in every way, emotionally, physically, thinking that stuff isn't going to go your way. You got to let go of what's not magic in your life, your own pessimistic emotions, your own physical ailments that you think might be happening, or material things. You're the magician here. You've got control of things in a magical way, but you have to also have the insight to be able to execute this. So I think that you just need to be on point with your spiritual energy to manifest great things right now, instead of letting these weird little things knock out the big things that really have no weight or power. Let go of all the things that you think have weight and power to take you down in certain ways. That's what I'm getting. You did get in your career life, 10 of Cups upright. Huge opportunities and dreams coming here with the Star card reversed, with the Death card reversed. Yeah, I do feel like, this is a moment where you can't be afraid of taking the better place in your life overall. I think all your dreams are here, but I feel like, again, your fear of failing and fear of that the guidance will not come through for you, or you think that it will be destroyed. I think an opportunity at work, I think an overall opportunities in all your life right now. You need to see a much better and clearer picture. They're very extreme cards that you just pulled here, but they're much more on the positive is what I'm seeing. And I just see these underlying cards that are extreme, just they're all reversed. It's like, I just feel like you're having these extreme battles inside that really are just needing to go away. Career's awesome. You can have the dream life with your career and what you want to do. Your overall is awesome. In your relationship life here, you got the two of swords upright. The hangman in reverse. Actually, no, that hangman is in. No, that hangman's upright. And you did get the Emperor, although that's Queen of Pentacles there. Although, do they do on here? Yeah, they do. It has Queen of Pentacles. Always, this deck, they always fuck you up a little bit. I think you don't really have as much crazy choices as you think. You might be feeling in relationships, you have to make some choice. Remember, there's a blindfold on that Two of Swords. You did get the Queen of Pentacles here. You get the Hangman. So it almost feels like, you know, do I have to make some crazy choice here about some situation in relationships? I don't think so. You need to get all your information here to understand where the transformation happen is. And I think that you need to just focus on what's the good stuff and what's the valuable energy you have within yourself, the self-worth, and the energy that you already have. I think that you have to understand how there's beauty that with everything that you have. I don't think that you have some crazy choice to make because you feel maybe the relationship might feel stuck, or it might feel like it's not going anywhere, or that you need more insight before you make any crazy moves, I think, right now. But I think that you're trying to understand deeply where your values are at right now, and where the shared values are. Focus on where those shared values are, and also remember, this is not a time to be playing from the mind. I think your mind is your worst enemy this week in all scenarios here. Overall, you got the Hermit reversed with the Five of Wands reversed. Yeah, this is definitely a time for you to get more insight, and definitely there is no conflicts. You know, the only conflicts are your deep inner conflicts. There's no outer conflicts. So this is a time for you. You know, I know that you just want to just go off and go into the sunset and have the life that you want, and, you know, you're willing to face any conflict, but they're all inside of you. They're all inside of you. So, you know, this is definitely how you deal with your emotions. And also, are there conflicts? I think that, you know, your only inner conflicts are what you have to deal with. There's way too many good things that are around for you, magic, but a lot of stuff that's really kind of trudging along here at the bottom of your subconscious about situations and issues that deal with you and yourself. So I would stop looking at the outside as the problem and start looking inside this week, because you have all the magic. The only way you can use the magic is when the inside's good. So look at the inside of your soul right now. You did get Guinevere here, so you did. Again, I feel like you want to pop it off in the most beautiful way and have the greatest love story and the greatest happiness and the greatest beauty, and express your sexuality, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I would not be getting into weird cliques or affairs and stuff like that, especially at that Two of Swords. That could really fuck you up big time here. What's your shadow this week? Queen of my world. There it is. I think that you're too focused on... The Magician is different. The Magician understands the balance of nature and the understanding of the universe, and that there's chaos and that there's order. I feel like this Queen of my world is you feeling like you can dominate your world by however way you want to subconsciously without realizing it. That's not the way to do it. And also being all about, this is my world, bitch. It's like, don't come from that place, and don't use beauty or even sexuality to try and attract what you want in your life right now. This is definitely not the place to do it, especially with Pluto is the ruler of your second house and it's in your fourth. I do feel like this is definitely a time for you to remember how to use this magic and not kind of use this, and let's just say it, there's some ego conflict here that's affecting you spiritually right now. Overall, what did you get? You got the Devil. Yep. You know what? I'm just going to say that Devil came from you and yourself and your attachment to your ego and how things are supposed to look and supposed to be, instead of using the universal way and the spiritual way of understanding all these beautiful things that are happening in your life and not paying attention to them for your desires only. Your astro dice for this week are... you did get Mars here, and you did get it in the fourth house. You are having to learn your emotions better and how to direct your emotions and not get angry emotionally and not project your emotions. But more importantly, you know, you have to learn to take care of yourself in a much better way, and maybe everything outside will do better. You have to take care of your own emotions first. And I think that that's where a lot of the intensity is at right now.
All right, Libra. Well, you got a lot going on in that 6th house right now. And honestly, this week could feel real sloppy. It could feel real disorganized, real messy. And I think that could be okay if you're willing to let it be. It's almost like you could try and force your way through and just think that everything's going to come into perfection right now. And I think you just need to see that it's almost like it's actually perfect, that things are messy, like they need to be messy so that you can subconsciously realize these things. And instead of maybe just freak out about it or get so obsessive or controlling about everything that's going on in your day-to-day life and in your head, learn how to kind of sit with this stuff this week, and then you'll get a pop that's going to really help you. You're going to start to notice like, oh, okay, now I see clearly. But this week maybe, but I don't know. With Neptune and the Sun meeting and the square from Mars in your 9th, like you could have some really weird beliefs about how to make life so perfect, but will it be perfect? You're going to have Pluto finishing up in your 4th house. This is the final week until Pluto ingresses into your 5th in Aquarius. So that's a big shift too. And I just think that, emotion's going to feel really intense, really sloppy. And this is where you have to figure out your own inner security, your own emotional waves, and realize that you can't control every aspect of life. You can't control what's going on every day. Just take things step by step, learn how to ride the wave, and then figure out how to really create. This is like a really big creation aspect for you, where I think that once you get out of the particular and get out of maybe the big belief of the particular, you're going to be doing so much better in how to channel a really creative way to line up your day that fits the way that you want to live. What's going to bring your life into harmony? What's going to bring things into balance? So, yeah, and you also have Venus this week, your ruling planet. It's going to square Pluto. So that's another big one, right? So that's in your 7th, squaring Pluto in your 4th. There's just, maybe some relationship stuff that needs to get in alignment. I feel like you're going to realize that this week there's a lot that's out of alignment because there's a transformation happening. And you have to be okay with that because it's going to look sloppy and you're going to figure out how to get everything balanced. But it's just like you could see some, big blow-ups kind of taking place because there's a lot of change that's trying to take place. And how well can you find peace in the disharmony? I think that'll show you a lot of what's going on inside and give you a lot moving forward. But this week's going to be a weird one. If you think too much, you're going to be in a weird place about it. So try and not be so mental and try and be more actually using that intense emotion to drive forward what's going to bring order to your life.
Yeah, and having it in a controlled manner, that emotion, because being a falled sun, the moon is at its best in Cancer, which is your 10th house, where a falled sun can only control its emotions correctly. So I feel like this is a moment for you to realize that. Remember, Mars is getting ready to come into your 10th to finally start to deliver. You've had to spend so much in the 9th where it's all over the place, and now the 6th, you're trying to organize it all. This is about not freaking out, not getting so emotional, and trying to force things to happen. You can't force shit right now. This is keeping you to learn and understand new perspectives that you've never been through before. And you can't force shit right now. It's not going to work, especially you could fuck up your reality in the 9th there. Good, beautiful things because you're trying to force to get to where you want to go. You can't right now. It's about not stressing and especially not losing your emotions. This is Pluto at the end of the 4th house. And like Brian said, with Venus squaring it in Aries, your 7th house, this is about how you have to know how to control your emotions better in your relationships and at the same time also your whole life to get where you need to go. Believe it or not, Libras are the emotional train wreck of the zodiac. Sag rising. Have you ever been around a Libra when they have an emotional breakdown? Holy shit, get the fuck out. When the object falls apart. Oh shit. All right, Sag, what's going on with you all? The know-it-alls. I know it all. You did get the 10 of Pentacles upright. You did get the 2 of Cups upright. The 2 of Pentacles in reversed. That's very odd reading right there. I do feel like you're feeling in a lot of alignments, emotionally aligned. Could even be with somebody else, person. You also got that 10 of Pentacles there. Maybe you're wanting to grow or create something with somebody. But it is weird this 2 of Pentacles is reversed. There's some imbalances you're not paying attention to here. So it's not bad. Don't hold yourself from doing what you're wanting to do. But I would say that paying attention to the imbalances that maybe you're not seeing right now. It might seem like you've got a lot of great ideas or great connections or these great things to go build things with. But are you sure that they really all align? I feel like, on one level they do. I think that there's a whole nother level you're not paying attention to here. We're going to find out if this is more where this is at. Well, you did get the Chariot reversed in your career. You did get the 4 of Wands reversed in your career. And you did get the King of Pentacles reversed in your career. Now, this might sound crazy, but I am a tarot reader and I'm a psychic and an astrologer. I do feel like when it comes to your career, you're not paying attention to some of the situations. You might be trying to, I can save you, I can protect you. This person's exciting. This is also combined with this astrology, this Mars in the 7th house, which if anybody's having the craziest relationship week of their lives, it's Sag risings. I almost feel like your career's not going the way that you want to right now. So are you sure that you're able to take on what you think that you could take on about certain situations? There's definitely needing to look at how you're doing your career. You're not doing enough. You're definitely not seeing where that window of opportunity is in your career. It's almost like you're missing out. I feel like you're sidestepping it by focusing on some weird thing to go create that would actually take you down farther. It almost like it's feeling like you're not fully aligned here, or you've put your career on the back burner, or you've also at the same time putting too much emphasis on your career going to be successful when it's not being successful at this moment right now, and something has to change. You're 9 of Cups upright in the relationship, 10 of Wands reversed, 7 of Pentacles. I almost feel like you're putting all your energy into a relationship, which probably is the problem. 10 of Wands reversed. It's taking all the weight off my shoulders. They're going to be able to do it. They're fulfilling me with happiness and that 7 of Pentacles. I'm getting my investment back on my return. That might not be a bad thing, but I don't think you're weighing it out in your career. I also think that you need to pay attention when it comes to your relationships this week if it's in alignment with your emotional life and your foundation. You could also be using somebody as an escape to not have to deal with responsibilities. Let's see. I'm going to ask that question about your relationships. 3 of Cups. It's more of a friend and more of a fun situation, or a drunk situation, or some weird situation, or some party situation, or some situation where they're really not able to handle the big responsibilities that you need. And that is the stuff that's coming up with that 2 of Pentacles in reversed here. Your overall, the Tower reversed. You could avoid a Tower this week. I hope you are. The Emperor reversed. That's going to try and take over your life and define your life for you. You need to take your power back this week, and you need to stop giving it away too much. I knew there was something underlying with this. When I saw this, I was like, Jesus Christ. And then the fact you have the Tower reversed. Yep, Knight of Wands reversed. Stay away from some sort of love-crazed fucking savior complex bullshit. Holy shit. Or somebody that's coming in to try and say they're going to save you. It's going to take away your career. They could also be somebody that's demanding, or somebody who also is a control freak. And that is, you might even be realizing this week that you're with somebody who's jealous of you. And they're trying to find more control for you this week. You got Merlin, and when Merlin shows up, it's fucking drastic. The only time Merlin shows up, literally, is when fucking shit goes bad in Camelot. Bad. Real bad. So I do feel like that you are going to have to pay attention to the equilibrium, truly, of the magic in your life, and not be falling for shit. I almost feel like Merlin's going to be coming through for you this week, Sag Risings, about what the fuck are you doing? It's pretty gnarly. Merlin just isn't around all the time. Merlin only shows up when shit gets weird. You get fated to suffer. And again, I think this is your problem, is that you're almost willing to take something because you're too afraid of, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to have to go through bad things. So you'll bite the apple. You'll take the poison apple. Don't take the poison apple. If anything, you're fated to suffer when you take the poison apple. I feel like you're being coerced into that right now. You got the Lover. That's what it's about. And I pulled a 9 of Pentacles in reversed. They're not even as good looking or as you, or they're uglier than you, or that they'll actually make you look uglier next to you. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Saturn, oh shit, in the 8th house. Yeah, you need to You need to keep that chastity belt on this week. You need to fucking also understand what the fuck you're committing to. Sorry, but the astrology is gnarly if you're a Sag rising out there, especially about the culmination of the emotional kaboom that's happening in your relationship life.
Well, it is an emotional kaboom. Mars is finishing up here in your 7th this week and it's coming out of shadow. So there's been a lot of lessons you've learned during this Mars retrograde about relationships, and it's squaring all this energy in your 4th house in Pisces. So yeah, I mean, it's a big emotional kaboom. It's trying to show you the truth of what you want to build a foundation with. And I think it's trying to get you back to trusting your intuition. That's one thing that Sag is really good at, is intuition. There's a knowing to Sag, like David opened up with. I know. You do most of the time, but you have to figure that out from deep within and not just do it for somebody else, not just do it to please somebody else or have some relationship in your life. Like, there's a lot of pressure on you this week, I think, to really dive deep into what's going on in your emotional life, your home life, maybe even, actually not overlook that. Maybe you're trying to do something really big in your career or with, people or relationships, whatever it is. Like, you're probably having to do a much deeper look at what's actually going on inside of you, because that's probably where things are sloppy and that's where things are bleeding out into the rest of reality for you. And I think too, when you look at your 5th house of Aries and Venus is there and Jupiter's there, it's almost like there could be some kind of big beliefs around relationships, but Pluto's also finishing up in your 2nd house. And guess what? Venus is squaring that Pluto. So I don't know. There's some weird tie here to your love life, your happiness, and your self-worth and your value. But if you're not being truthful and honest about how you're really feeling, then you're really not showing up as your most authentic self, and you're really not relating as your most authentic self. And maybe that's where this week is like, hone in on what you're actually feeling so that you're actually giving that energy and making sure that you're receiving that energy also. But it can definitely be a little hard emotionally dealing with people, and it probably is relationships. That's going to be a big one for you, because there's a lot of love life stuff, and Venus in your 5th square your 2nd. Like, if people are the only thing that are making you feel valuable, you got to go deep and figure out that that's not true. You should always feel valuable and at home in your own body.
It's interesting reading the chat. People are going like, well, I'm a Scorpio rising, so these placements kind of fall. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Astrology is not based by houses. It's based by planets. And then those planets are the rulers of signs. Houses are you and your ego and how you look at the planets and demanding them to fall into a house from your point of view. Do you think that the planets upstairs go, oh my God, I'm in this house for you and your ego? They're not. And this is also a weekly reading. So just because right now you might be single, that doesn't mean when I say there's some crazy shit might go down of somebody trying to come in a day, 2 days, 3 days from now. So again, all the Sag risings are all fucked up in the head. They think they already know it all. You already think you know it all. You don't hear what you want to hear. And so it's like, oh, but, or if you're a Scorpio rising at this point, why would you even associate with being with Sag? Why would you even associate it? If you base your astrology off your houses, you're fucked. You should be able to do astrology of the relationship of the planets. That's what I'm teaching in my Pluto masterclass. It upset the whole masterclass. You know why? Because it just blew them out of the water. That I was able to predict everything in all these people's lives without using a house. It's about the planets. The planets rule the signs. And guess what? Those planets that rule signs also become the ruler of houses and the lords. There is no such thing as a house ruling anything. So when you go your whole life on astrology based off houses, you've already lost. You've already lost. You don't know astrology. Just a little reminder, because y'all are fucking getting lost. My rising. You don't know shit. If that's how you base your life, you don't know shit. You really should get out of astrology. You should at least maybe go take a class. Like, you don't know anything about astrology if you're going by houses. It's planets. Remember that. The planets rule all, not the houses. Planets even rule the houses. All right. Fucking Sag. I know everything. That's your guys' toxic trait. You guys are just like oblivious emotionally to everything. Gemini rising. I don't feel bad for saying that either because it's just fucking true. And if any sign is the most emotionally lost in anybody right now, it's fucking sad. You get so much in the fucking fourth house in Pisces. You guys have a lot of emotional repressed issues going on right now in every direction. And if you happen to have a Sag rising too, with the Sun and Neptune meeting, that's your fourth house ruler. Shit. Remember, it's the planets. It's not the house, it's the planets. So, you know, grab another beer, take another shot. I'm sure that's making you feel better. Call another person and say it's all going good to make yourself feel better. Take another Instagram picture of yourself to make yourself feel better. All right, Gemini. I know you guys have all been through a lot. Gemini rising. Shit. Is there relief? I think there is coming soon. I just feel like, you know, yo, shit's fucking been a lot. But you've had to re-identify with a lot at the same time and even realize that there's more courage in you than you realize that you were playing t-ball when you could have been playing with the big boys and big girls in coach pitch or even just hitting the ball. I feel like you forgot how to hit the ball. So let's see what's going on with you this week. The lovers. Damn, you know, it's kind of funny. The Sag risings, Gemini rising. Definitely a lot of relationship situations going on for them. Five of Pentacles reversed. Temperance card. Things need to play out naturally. I think when it comes to your overall happiness and how love works and so forth, you know, if you've been in long relationships and stuff, again, just keeping that natural thing. I also think that at the same time for you, it's like, stop thinking bad things are going to happen or that, you know, you don't need to get dragged into anything bad, especially about love. Or if somebody's not really seeing you or trying to take you down in a way of like, sorry about me, you should feel sorry for me. You need to tell them to get the fuck out of here. It's not unnatural. So you could be dealing with people that, you know, I think this is a clearinghouse week for Gemini risings of like, who is feeding me into feeling sorry for myself and I am feeling sorry for them. Then he's end. All right, Nine of Pentacles in reverse for your career and destiny. And you got a Queen of Pentacles here. And you got a Queen of Cups in reverse here. I do feel like this is part of the problem. I do feel like, again, it was kind of like just the last reading with the Sag rising. It's a lot of confusion and it's a lot of weird misdirection going on here. I feel like your career, you're not feeling all that you could be. You're not feeling that it's going in the right direction in creating. This could also be some money issues that you're starting to have and especially security issues emotionally about it. That Queen of Cups in reverse, that Queen of Pentacles in reverse, that Nine of Pentacles in reverse. You got to reverse all that around. I'll give you another card. You got the Hangman. You definitely feel stuck about your destiny and career. But I think it's to pay attention to what's going on about how you deal with love, how you deal with your overall happiness, how you deal with how things are naturally working in your life and what's unnatural and what is truly natural. You need to have that better understanding in your life. When it comes to your relationships, you got a Ten of Pentacles reversed. You got a Page of Swords in reversed. You got a Death card reversed. There is some untrue situation. There is some bad situation here that honestly has been a lie or I hate to say it, or it could be in yourself where you're too afraid to build foundations that you really want and that you've created stories in your head or untruths. Like, I don't want to do that. You also got a Death card reversed. You're too afraid to let something finally end or even begin in a new way. Let's see what that last card is. You got Knight of Wands in reverse. I definitely feel like you need to get out of these really jumpy, emotionally charged, fast, quick, exiting in and out. You need to find the stability in relationships. You need to find stable relationships, and you also have to change your way that you deal with relationships. And a lot of it is how your career is. You're probably in relationships that you're relying on somebody job-wise or for money or for all these weird things. I'm going to throw one, boom, Four of Swords. Yeah, it's exactly what's happening. You're just using people to find a safe bet or to stay safe or to find security with. You can't do that. It's not allowed. You have to learn how you're going to have to prosper in your own direction with all this 10,000 first house. See what you got overall here. Five of Cups. Oh, shit. Four of Pentacles reversed. So there's definitely a lot of things that are just not going to be exactly as happy as you might think. But I think that a lot of it is realizing, you know, there's some things that have come to an end and it's time to clear them out. I love this card because it says, I'm going to miss you, asshole. Why are you even still in that space? Why are you even still digging it? Are you trying to redig that person up? Are you trying to redig all that energy up? You got a Four of Pentacles reversed here. Stop holding on to what you think is going to be my self-worth and my value. You need to like open yourself up to a better place. Stop looking at it from what you don't have or what you need to have. I think that it's just more about what you are and who you are and defining that much better. Let's see where you are in Avalon this week. You did get the fairy, which I think that you definitely need. This nature's better guardian energy. I feel like you do need this guardian energy around you right now, because I almost feel like you are very sporadic and very lost when it comes to understanding what position to take in your life right now, and even defining it or letting other people, you turn that into defining who you are. You need to remember the amazing abilities that you have and the amazing qualities that you have, and that's part of this big transit. You also got, I won't cry for you. You also are emotionally cutting yourself off from emotions in very weird ways, and needing to know where to put that balance of your emotions. You might be all like, I'm done crying for this piece of shit. But then at the same time, it's like you're not willing to cry for the things that you love. It's like really weird. It's like you've cut yourself off in all the weirdest and the wrong directions, and you're not opening yourself up to the right places and closing them off in the wrong places. Your overall that you got here is the Hierophant. I do think that you need a new connection with God's spirit, and more importantly, more of a commitment to it, meaning that you have to show up to it every day instead of it being like, well, I lit some sage on Monday and I went to a yoga class on Thursday. That's the big problem, is that you've severed your connection with spirit in many ways, because you've actually told yourself that all these things in reality are going to save you, instead of the destined path that you need to get back on and the work that you have to do, which shows that I don't feel good enough. I don't look good enough. It doesn't look the way I want to. Nine of Pentacles reverse, Queen of Pentacles reverse, Queen of Cups reverse. Like, shut up. Again, you need to get back to work. And you also have some really weird emotional distractions with relationship situations for safety that are not there. Neptune in the third house. Especially being a Gemini, it does feel crazy times. It also feels like, you're trying to logically figure all these things out. What's the right move? When's the right move? Are you even aware of your environment? I think that you need to pay attention to your environment and look wider, because I think that you're looking too narrow and you're not seeing what's surrounding you and what's... Also, the concept of God is too much in the head right now. It needs to be in the soul.
All right, Gemini. Well, you got a lot going on in that 10th house. I think for you, especially with Mercury being there and going to meet with the sun and square Mars, and Mars is in your first, it's coming out of shadow. You've been going through that huge retrograde in your first of your identity, your will. This is an interesting one. I feel like there could be some changes to just the way that you now maybe feel like you can proceed forward in life. Who you are could have changed, and now you're having that Mercury-Mars square, which could really actually be pretty empowering, but it's with Neptune. So I feel like the empowerment comes through responsibilities. It comes through taking on things. It comes through being present, especially with what you're trying to move forward with in terms of career, jobs, like the big things in life that kind of make it happen. I mean, it comes down to like, are you able to bring the bread home right now? Are you able to really just take care of business? Like, I think that you absolutely can be, but there's also a side here where you can be so a little like delusional or lost or not putting the effort forward or being lazy. And I think maybe this week's a good check to be like, are you being too lazy? Or are you stepping up and taking action like you're ready to do? Are you thinking quickly? Are you focusing? I know it's going to be hard to focus a little bit. Mercury's going to meet with Neptune. It's already in fall position in your 10th house in Pisces. So it's definitely a little weird. It's a hard one because I don't know if you can think your way out of it, but there's also intuitive thinking that can take place that can show you where you've kind of habitually been not showing up. And this is where you do need to show up. You do need to put energy and effort into what you want to accomplish in life, or you'll never accomplish it. So I think that it's a big week to realize where you're not paying attention to what's actually going on. And remember at the same time that Pluto's about to come into your 9th house. So just when you think you know, you don't actually know yet. That's all. Your whole belief system, your whole relationship to God, like that Hierophant said, is going to evolve here. So be open to starts, be open to working hard, and you're going to get the answers and you're going to get the big picture. But I feel like if you're going to be lazy or not show up right now, you're going to kind of dig yourself into a hole that you don't need to be in. So go after it this week as best you can. you don't have to think so much. It's more of a intuitive, instinctual action that will get you moving, get the blood circulating, you know?
Yeah, and especially relationships with Jupiter and Chiron that just met, Jupiter being the 7th house ruler. It feels like you've almost like felt like some sacrifice has taken place. That you felt like, what the fuck? Like you thought it was all going good and it wasn't, especially about a person or, you know, typically Geminis, we're friends, right? Gemini, right? We're friends. And then fucking, it's like, oh shit, you're sacrificing all this shit. And then all this Pisces here and the first house shit, I gotta say, it's like, you gotta be a boss again and know how to deal with it. That Mercury square Mars is gonna be rough. The dispositor, fucking shit. Not a fucking good position for you with Neptune conjunct in its fall position. It's not a good Mercury right now. And it's squaring Mars, which is in its own house, right? Mercury's house. So, and Mars is Aries ruled, and you have all this weird Jupiter, Chiron shit, Venus squaring Pluto. This is going to be one of your most testy weeks of your life. I already know it's been testy, but it's going to be even more testy, especially the insecurities that you have when you really have a lot of power and where you can start to carve reality in life and paying attention to what you're doing instead of just reacting to every little moment. You got to think long term and you got to be a better strategist. Your strategies are pretty weak right now. You got Scorpio rising next. All right, what's going on with you Scorps out there? If anyone's in La La Land, it would be Scorpios. It's all gravy, right? It's all gravy. Well, we'll find out. You did get the King of Pentacles in reverse here. You did get the Page of Cups upright, and you did get the 7 of Cups in reverse. So I do feel like that you are focused in the right directions. I feel like that you're in a positive place, but I also feel like the big kahuna of what you really want to have happen and commit to or have seen is not happening, and you got to get over that. I think that you know, don't lose on the positive place that you're wanting to achieve or attain or have money or create. It's just not happening yet. At least you're focused on what you want and you know what you want. And you got to learn to be positive through it all. Things take time. You know, I think that you're wanting some big thing to happen. The big things have already been happening, and they're happening over time. Stop waiting for the moment to when it happens, as that's going to bring your ultimate happiness. Enjoy the moment. That's going to be your key this week, and remembering that you've already got your goals focused in the right way or the things that you want. In career, Ace of Cups reversed, 10 of Cups reversed, with a 3 of Pentacles. That's kind of the issue, right? The career is not exactly going exactly the way you want it. The dream's happening, it's just not happening when you want it, and it feels like you want some relief. It's not happening. You want that job to come through, you want something to come through, but this is also where you have to start understanding 3 of Pentacles. Who are the people that you can work with, that you could start to team up with, to learn from, to create projects? You know, what are some other stuff that you can be doing instead of focusing on the one big kahuna to come in? I keep getting that, this big thing to happen, this big change. It's not about that right now. It's about understanding, you know, you have resources that you need to start using outside of just your own self. That's being a Scorpio anyway. What's going on with your romantic love life? You did get the Hierophant upright. You did get the 8 of Cups in reverse. And you did get, wow, the 10 of Wands in reverse. That's 6 of Wands. It's very hard to read that deck. 6 of Wands reversed. Again, the spiritual thing is what's going to keep your relationship situation together. This is a hard card. Whenever I see 8 of Cups reversed, especially about you might be thinking about some ex or the past, or should I have not left the situation? I'm not feeling as victorious, maybe because you're being delusioned by the big kahuna, the big situation hasn't happened in your life yet physically, and you think, oh no. But I think that you need to look at the spiritual end of things. If you're in the spiritual end of things, you're with the relationships, you're going to have to keep believing in the path. You're going to have to keep believing that there will be victory. And also stop looking at the past of trying to go back to the past or bringing the past up, or especially I would stay away from exes. Shit. Especially just the idea of them. I almost feel like that. We need to pull one more card. What is it? Oh, shit. 2 of Cups reversed. And that was about the ex situation or the past situation. So stop going there. What if I had a different timeline? Shut the fuck up. Your overall here is 4 of Cups and the 5 of Wands reversed. There are no problems. Your problem is that it's not showing up the way that you want to. And even when the things are showing up, you're kind of like, I want it to be bigger. I want it to be more. Just shut the fuck up and accept what is happening and that there's so many good things. I feel like you could really have one of the best weeks. But again, you're too focused on the end result. You're too focused on the big thing. You're too focused on what is going to be the big thing. Relax. Take in what you have now. There's no problems. You create the only conflict by trying to want more. Well, you did get the mists of Avalon, so you're definitely in the midst of it. You're lost into the illusion of it. Again, this is where you're going to have some boundaries to understand so you don't slip away out of Camelot and into the wrong place. You want to hang out in Mordred's tower, right? I don't think so. Bride in a cage. I think that you might feel stuck about how relationship situations are going on, or you might be putting the illusion of this relationship situation as the cause of the problems right now, or the lack of it, or whatever. Or you feel stuck because of your relationship. It's not that. It's about accepting where things are at and understanding when they come, naturally, spiritually. I think that you're having some issues with that. Big time. You did get the Sun card reversed. You got 2 with the Hangman. Oh shit, yeah. This is a week where you can fuck it all up because you're not going to just sit around and look and you feel like you're not connected in your soul. And actually, your ego could come out and think it's a soul and say that it knows the right way and it knows what to do here and it knows how to change things. There's nothing to change. Keep being aware and do not change yourself. Do not change who you are. Do not try and change some situation because you think it's going to bring it brighter. If anything, it's the false light that you're dealing with in yourself. And you did get an 8th house sun. Yeah. Be a Scorpio and be honest and be loyal and still be faithful and still understand that you will receive things when they're meant to be received. Maybe you're just you're not asking for it enough, or you're not fucking knowing how to attract it enough into your life.
All right, Scorpio. Well, you got a lot in that 5th house. I mean, I think astrologically, that's probably the best place to have all this Pisces energy is in that 5th house with the Sun and Neptune. And yeah, one of your ruling planets, Mars, is in your 8th and Gemini, and it's squaring that. But this is interesting because I think it brings up a lot of wanting love, wanting romance, wanting passion. But is that coming from a true sense of self? Is that coming from your true light? Or is it, false? I think that was a good point that David made in the reading. Because if you're just showing up for some kind of thrill, but the heart isn't really into it, or you're not, really expressing yourself in the most authentic, deep, truthful way, and you're just trying to get something, some kind of a hit of maybe passion, love, dopamine, whatever it is, that might be a little sketchy this week. It could be some delusion of grandeur that if you do something, you'll get your rocks off and it'll show up exactly how you want it. I think you want to be kind of like just making sure and double checking that your heart's fully into a situation before diving in head first and going all the way, fully in to any situation. Maybe it's a love relationship, or maybe it's romantic. Maybe it's just something that you want to create. Maybe it's something you want to really hone in on. Are you sure that you're really into it? I think that's the big check. And I think it's interesting too that both of your ruling planets are about to change signs. So Pluto hasn't changed sign. It's been in your 3rd house in Capricorn for 16 years. It's about to come into your 4th house of Aquarius. And Mars, your other ruling planet, a day later next week, is about to shift. So I think that you're on an edgy place mentally where maybe you just think that you have it all figured out in your environment, in your mind, and maybe you don't yet. And you have to be careful about that because that can bleed over into who you're really trying to merge with, what energy, even if it's not a person that you're really trying to commit and merge with and go deeper into. It's just a lot of shifts taking place. So check with your heart before just committing and being so obsessed with something. Is it really in alignment does it really make you happy? Because this is a time where if you're actually feeling happy, you're doing some really powerful things right now, and especially with the North Node in your 7th and Venus about to come into your 7th. I mean, if you're in the right relationships now, it can go really far. But if you're not, I feel like it can get real sticky and blow up in your face because you thought that it was, but you were just doing it for something that wasn't based on love. It was based on some external, you get this, almost like a credit card. If you're dating a credit card, that's not ideal.
I'm going to call this week the kiss of death, Scorpio, for you. You have the kiss of death that you're bringing or that somebody else is bringing, how you deal with it. Careful. But also knowing how to defend for what you might have to prove your happiness and worth for somebody. They might not believe it anymore. Or you don't believe in the other person. And if they don't respond back, you got to be careful because you were just in your own way of what you expected everybody to be. Nobody wants to be expected when it comes to love. So don't be the bringer of death or the receiver of death by not knowing how to play your hands, or should I say your stingers, correctly. We got Pisces rising next. All right. Pisces risings. Happy birthday, by the way. Hope you all are having a good birthday. I know it's weird times, so you might even feel like the weird birthday. It's not the typical Piscean birthday with Saturn being here and all these planets in Pisces and the world on the edge. So it's all right, though. Don't trip. All right, what's going on? Actually, it's my buddy Tom's birthday today. Happy birthday, Tom. Carol! All right. What's going on? And it was just my fiance's birthday. All right. Ace of Wands reversed. Ace of Pentacles upright. Four of Pentacles reversed. That feels like a very weird situation. Again, you know what? Amazing things are happening, but they might be not happening in the way that you excitingly want them to happen, but they're happening. Let go of the expectation of how it should look. Be open to the way that things are opportunities. The opportunities are happening. They're just maybe not the most exciting way, which is very Saturn and Pisces teaching you like, okay, it's happening, but it might not be as exciting. It's learning to adult, yo. You know, especially with the Four of Pentacles reversed. Stop having all of the way that you hold on to things and your values be a certain way, because let me just remind you, Saturn's in your sign now, motherfucker. So it's time to rewrite that whole story now. It's not, let go of the old way it's supposed to look. These are all new ways things are looking, and they're not going to look exactly the way that you want it to be from your little happy place. It's coming in the way that it's coming. It's about adjusting. You got King of Pentacles in reverse for your career, Two of Pentacles, Eight of Wands in reverse. I feel like, you know what? That's the problem here, is I feel like when it comes to having what you want to go or going where you want to go, it's like this expectation when really I think you're holding yourself back. You're weighing things out. You have all these things that you want to have, and the opportunities are there, but you got to take advantage of them. It's like you have all the things, but you don't see it. You have everything that you need to get where you want to go, but you're not using them. It's like you're waiting on some idea or some weird thing to happen. Or again, maybe you're just hoping for magic to just show up. The magic already showed up. It's just whether or not you're going to do it now in your life, especially when it comes to your career life. And especially, I think that you're weighing things out too much. You're juggling about what to do. You're hesitating. This is definitely very hesitating. The Eight of Wands is flying the opposite direction. It's almost like you want it to fly in the opposite direction so you don't have to do things. So it's, again, creating excuses. In your love life, 10 of Swords, Page of Swords upright, and the Lovers. Well, I feel like that's a good space for you with your relationships. Definitely Page of Truth, Page of Swords, Truth, and also patterns that have come to an end. So I do feel like, you know, you're at a good place in your relationship life, but they could also help teach you how to see opportunities. I definitely think that this is definitely the bomb. These are the only two actually in the original painting of where the tarot started that actually survive and make it through the zombie apocalypse. So it is the ultimate pair of truth. So at least you actually know what's true in your relationship life, especially I almost feel like you've come out of patterns, or if you are still not honest about the patterns that you keep seeing and you're not facing them, those are going to come up this week. I'll give you one more card about that. King of Swords. Yeah, this is a very clear week, being very clear and understanding and true, and a lot of communication in relationships this week, and making sure that old patterns don't happen and closing those patterns out. Responsibility is going to be a big one for you this week, Pisces. We got a 4 of Swords in reversed with an 8 of Swords. Ooh. I do feel like that you're causing your own emotional problems by your mental health this week. You are mentally overtaxing yourself about the way things should look. You're trying to have it look a certain way, have it supposed to be a certain way when it's not. It's a different way. I think that you are causing toxic energy in yourself, and more importantly, that you're not able to find rest and serenity because it's not turning out the way you want it to look, even though it'll turn out probably better than the way that you want it to look, but you're not willing to. And whenever I see 8 of Wands reversed, it's almost like you like when things don't turn out right because you don't have to, you can use it as an excuse. This is you ending excuses in all parts of your life right now, which I know is hard being a Pisces. You did get the Holy Thorn, which at least this is pretty mellow, the optimism and remembering sacred things. There's a lot of sacred, beautiful things. Don't be fucking that shit up by not doing something about the sacred things you have or by destroying sacred things that you have. It's very important to remember that. But again, you have it, so use it. No more excuses. Oh, look at that colorless angel. I can't. I'm not feeling good. I don't have enough color in me. I don't have enough life force in me. Shut the fuck up. That's a lie. That's all in your head. That's all in your own way. That's the king and queen of excuses are Pisces. Oh my God, I don't have it. I can't do it. I can't. Yeah, right. That's your shadow. Oh God, I don't have enough blood in me. It's like we all have blood. Okay? We all have life in us. So you got to bring life to it. Don't be afraid. No more excuses. And you did get the moon card. Yep. It's all bubbling up, all of your own subconscious emotional issues that are your own. Howl them out at the moon. Don't howl them out at others. Let the emotions, let the crab come out. Let your emotional weird demons come out. And I know you could feel squared by these 2 towers here, but it's a tower that will fall on all sides of your life if you don't deal with your suppressed emotions. Damn. We're going to have to redo that one. You did get, you got 11th house here, Pluto. Yep, that's exactly where Pluto is for you. So again, understanding the world the way that you want to and the way that it should look, and also how people should be and all that shit. You need to get rid of that because that isn't the way that it is. You pay attention to how you think people should be and how the world should be, because it's not going the way that you think it should, and people should not be the way that they think that you should.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point about people. Pluto's finishing up in your 11th. It'll come back, but it is getting squared by Venus in your 2nd house. So there's something about your value and your self-worth that needs to kind of meet this energy. And you've dealt with so much of this. Like, you don't have to keep repeating cycles, right? Saturn's done with your 12th house. You've learned subconsciously what's going on with people in your life, how to be around the right energy. So I think it's very important for you with so much in your first. And happy birthday, Pisces, final week of Pisces season. So it is so important for you to channel that energy into making sure that you're making decisions for yourself, that you're going on the path that you want to be on. This is the moment to do that. And you have to know your worth and your value very strong. And then you have to understand it next week when Venus comes into your 3rd. And you have to be able to express your value and express your love and express that, hopefully to the right people in your life that are matching the frequency that you're emitting. And with Mars here in your 4th, I mean, I'm sure that's been rough. I haven't gone through that, but not in a while at least. But yeah, Mars retrograde in the 4th for you, ouch. Squaring all of your planets, ouch. It's almost done though. And I think that you have some big emotional, upheaval that has taken place. And this is where hopefully you're at a point now where you're ready to lead with the emotion. Instead of letting things bubble up, you're ready to kind of take the authority back for how you're feeling, express how you're feeling, realize that your self-worth and security is not dependent on a group of people in your life. It's dependent on you identifying your worth, your soul, your value, and moving forward. Your base is built by you, not somebody else. And I think that's something that is important this week for you to remember, so that you can have really good relationships, so that you can have, just really solid life moving forward, because you're finding out who you really are and how to lead with your emotion, your soul, and not so much maybe thinking about your emotions so much, because that's what gets you in trouble. When you try to analyze and think about your emotion, it doesn't help you very much. It gets you lost in a loop. This is more of an instinctual, I feel it, I got it now, and I'm not gonna keep repeating these cycles with, especially probably with people. I feel like that's the big thing, is like same people over and over again. You've learned those lessons. Don't do it. Trust your emotions on the matter.
Yeah, I agree. And especially, Capricorn, fish, you need a school of fish. So the whole lesson, though, with Mars in the 4th, Gemini, we all call Pisces crazy nutcases because of how you expect others to be in relationships and how you expect others to be in your friendships. But you're the one that has to be the most transparent. So it's always the projection shit and all the emotional shit. And like that's where the term shady, right? Because the 12th house is shady. You're having to be responsible for yourself. It's not so much about others defining you, but how you've defined others to be. Like you have to look at your own actions. That's the whole thing of what Pluto getting ready to come into the 12th house is going to be. Like you're all of the shady shit, that's the stories that you make about your emotional personal life, your people and who you are. Responsibility is going to hit you so hard now, because it's like you have to be an adult and you have to know how to face situations. You also can't be hidden in the world. Pluto can try and hide itself from people and say, I've been robbed and been bad. It's also like where you need your school of fish. How do you treat your school of fish? You show up? Do you show up fully? So this is like hard, because it's almost like you're trying to be a little fish in the bottom of the ocean. Like, my fin isn't working right. Shut the fuck up. Like this is your issue. You have to be responsible now. Saturn's in your own sign. Like it's hard. Pisces try to find every excuse to everything. You can't have an excuse anymore, especially about people and all that shit. You're the result of how every situation in relationships goes. Two-part street. And guess where your responsibility is? Capricorn, 11th house. So that's a place that you have to find the understanding of the responsibility to be part of the world. And you can't also be at the same time just like saying that everybody's the cause of you to be at the bottom of the ocean right now with a fin. It's the reason why that they made I just found out yesterday that they're making the Little Mermaid black. Right? Because of this way that the world is expecting everybody else to be. That's how you are. Do you think that that's weird that the Little Mermaid, they're making her black to make it be more the way that people are actually offended, because it's like even black people are offended. Like, why are you trying to change it to make me happy because I'm supposed to be this way? That's how you're living your life. Stop. All right. Leo rising. Good. I get my vampire cards. Nice. Leos, remember to be a good king. The only way to be a good king is there's only people that you share the private stuff with, and you have to keep everybody else guessing, or else then you can't be a king. You got to be transparent to those that are the closest to you, and this is dealing with people in a really weird way. Who to trust and who to not trust. And also maybe it's not even about trust. Maybe it's about who you don't need to spill your whole beans to every single person anymore. It's only selectively choosing which people know what, and also at the same time knowing which people are there, and also just staying on the path and keeping your beliefs in a positive direction. And where to really invest your energy right now? You're the sun, so it's a lot of energy. If some people want to be Pluto, let them be Pluto. Let him be Pluto. Queen of Pentacles upright, 7 of Swords reversed, and the Temperance card. Again, letting things naturally go. Queen of Pentacles, definitely knowing what's of value, what's beautiful, what's good. That 7 of Swords reversed is good. It definitely feels like there aren't any crazy mishaps that really I think that you have to pay attention to, or you don't need to pay attention to the shady or the liar or any of that. I think it's more like stop giving any credence or any value to people that are that way. Let natural things happen the way that they're supposed to right now, and just keep focusing on the good shit. Stop focusing on anything that could have been shady or could have been weird in the past. Just focus on the good shit that's natural and keep going from there. In your work life right now, you did get the Page of Pentacles in reversed, the Chariot reversed with the Queen of Cups. So this is kind of interesting because it is feeling like things aren't really turning the direction you want to yet. It also feels like that you're having an issue with trying to figure out certain of the smaller things, but overall, you're quite okay. You're quite comfortable here. I think that it's about, it might feel uncomfortable trying to turn the ship or trying to get your career into a certain direction, but I think that there's more info to get and you still don't have all the info, and that's okay. Just keep remembering that you're getting all the info and you'll have all the info to know what to do and feel secure and safe that everything's okay. Don't get lazy, but there is a lot of security there for you right now. When it comes to your relationships, you got the Star card upright, you got the Ace of Pentacles, and you got the 7 of Wands in reversed here. So it does feel like, just keep being guided. It does feel like you're at a space where there's some really new opportunities or things to create or co-create with. But that 7 of Wands, it might feel like certain positions need to change, right? It could feel like, well, we were anchored in this one opportunity, or I'm creating this, or even if you're single out there, you want something to happen. Well, the universe is offering a lot of good things to happen, but it's like you might have to change position on some things. And also knowing where to hold position in your relationships and where not. And then you got the Justice card. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot about, understanding what's fair, what's not, being honest. And also, I feel like there's just like, this might be the first time Leos are not going to get involved with a lot of drama. It's just not worth it, right? It's like, it's not worth you when you're creating great things and you're at a beautiful new place and you know which people, and you've had, I think that some people might react in a weird way to you, that when you're just like, I don't need to put as much energy in. I don't have to hold so much position. I don't need to hold the line for you as much. You're only doing what you're getting back in return, that Justice card, right? But don't go on any vendettas trying to prove justice. Just be what you are. You'll see who's going to pop out and be weird. Your overalls here are the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. Everybody's been getting that. And a Knight of Cups. So keep moving along. I do feel like keep being open. Nothing is for sure right now as far as, especially in physical aspects and creating aspects, but keep moving the emotions in a positive place. You're not stuck. So just keep moving forward. You know where to move forward, where the good stuff is. Stop focusing on anything bad. You don't need any drama. You're safe with your career. You're going to figure out the stuff that you need. It doesn't look like a crazy week. It definitely looks like more of just getting more info and knowing, and keep focusing on the good things that you're creating here. In Avalon this week, well, you got a grain. So again, it does kind of feel like you just kind of stuck, looking at certain things and kind of missing all the point. Of course, it is a card that just is the feminine power, the energy of really understanding how to maybe control yourself, which actually, if there's any sign that could ever get a grain and use it better, it's probably Leo. It's about being a stronger king or queen now, by also focusing on what's important, and maybe you don't need to be looking everywhere. It is kind of a boring card, so maybe boring is better. Sacrifice. You don't need to sacrifice anymore for certain situations or people's situations. I don't think that you have to go through some horrible sacrifice. That might be the thing. I'm going to lose this if I do this. Shut up. You're fine. Stay focused. If there's any way for you to accumulate all the things that you need to go what you need to do, this is the week. You don't have to sacrifice things. It's more about being fair and equal, and how you're being treated is just what you don't have to do, how you treat back, just where are you disconnecting your energy from, where you don't need to invest so much, and where is the best places to invest in. That's all you have to pay attention to. It's not some sacrifice. You got the Star card again upright. It does feel like you are being guided. It does feel like everything is feeling like it's cleared out a lot of weird shit. You're clearing out a lot of the weird shit that's around. It almost feels like just the border edges of what's been nasty or weird or gross out of the kingdom. You got part of fortune, and you did get that in your 4th house. So I feel like, your private life, your personal life is everything that is of value. And that's only meant to be shared as a king or queen with Pluto as the ruler of the 4th, right? Only with those that are part of that very selective, intense, trusted people. So do what you got to do publicly, but there's a private life too. And this is where kings keep people guessing.
Yes. Well, Leo, could feel like there's a lot of things transforming. Could feel like there's a big, like, emotional growth that's taking place, you know. You are having to trust. You know, you have to have, some people in your circle that you can trust. You have Mars in your 11th square, the Sun, Neptune, Mercury, all in your 8th house. You know, there are some things that you have to tell people, but there's also some things you don't. You know, some things don't need to be said. Some things don't need to be public. Some things are meant for you. But I think it's knowing, like, not everything should just be kept inside, or it can bubble over at the same time. So it is finding some kind of a line here between who is really in that royal court of yours that you can express the deep emotions to, for good, bad, ugly, better, worse, whatever they are. Some things need to be said. Some things need to be felt. And maybe it's about the feeling, the expression, and then being able to deliver that too in a way that isn't so harsh or isn't, pushed onto somebody else being the problem. So, it's not always about someone else coming to attack you too. The 8th house can feel like you're just getting attacked from outside forces, and it's not a time to play victim to that either. So you have to, I think, put on a little bit of spiritual body armor this week and know that you are safe to feel deeply. You are safe to express your depth, no matter how other people take it or, what other people might expect of you. But in the end, there's something in life right now with Saturn in your 8th now too, where you have to be able to control the intensity a little bit in your life so that it's being channeled into the really creative aspects, the really powerful aspects that are within you, and not just maybe too much, too overbearing, or too controlling too. So you have to learn to trust too, and also know that other people are here to help you. And you don't want to overlook that people do have your back, and they're not always, some opposing force. But it can definitely feel like opposing forces can come in this week. And with Neptune there, it can almost feel like you maybe are turning a blind eye to it, like pushing things under the rug. I think if you're feeling something deeply, and especially in terms with, with relationship aspects or another person, you should express how you're feeling and be honest. That's the time where you have to trust that if you're bringing out that vulnerability, that it'll be received well. And I think that could help you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be so intense anymore. You just, if you got to unfollow somebody because they treat other people bad, you just unfollow them and you don't even deal with it anymore. Kings have too much important stuff to deal with. People mistreat other people on the court. You just go, that's who they are. And you let it go. You don't need to get involved with all the crazy shit on the court and little court gestures. People are going to try and always come into your world and try and disrupt and try and be cool and then try and use you, and you just let it go. They expose themselves. So it's about, you don't have to go to war. You don't have to go to battle. You don't have to, you have your own journey, and they're just on the court. People try to get deep, but when they treat others bad, that's how you can know. That's what kings do. You look at the court and you see who's crazy and who's talking shit and who's gossiping. That's where gossip comes from, right? Go sip. Send a page to go see what they really think when they're at the bar. So it's like one of those moments here where you know who's really the fucking plague to others and how they treat others around you, and you know that you pull out. And then you see how everybody else gets treated. You don't have to do all this work anymore. You don't have to do all this shit. There's people who mistreat other people, who do weird shit. Don't be taken advantage of anymore. It's not worth it. Taurus rising. You all are getting deck now. All right, Tauruses. You know, it's really weird. I think about Tucker Carlson, and he was just on Glenn Beck's show. That's where he did his interview after all this stuff went down with him. And Glenn Beck was in the same position, who's an Aquarius. Back during 2001 and during the Iraq war into 2003, when 9/11 and all that crazy shit happened, Glenn Beck was calling out the truth. And guess what they did? They let him go from Fox News. Well, what do you think's happening to Tauruses right now? So, you know, it's one of those moments here where it's like, don't trip out. You know what the truth is, Taurus. And don't be afraid of losing position. You're finding the people who really see the truth within you, and they'll follow you forever. But you gotta own that truth, and you gotta own that with the people. You got the Ace of Pentacles in reverse here. You got the Hangman in reverse here, and you got the King of Cups in reverse here. That's quite a lot. I do feel like you feel like there's a lot of opportunities slipping away, a lot of comfort slipping away, but you also don't feel stuck, which is kind of weird. Maybe I feel like maybe you were too focused on finding security and some sort of opportunity, and you realized that was actually what the problem was, right? You kept looking for something. I don't think this is about looking for something. This is about realizing that you're free, and more importantly, it might feel uncomfortable. It might not feel like you know where the exact opportunity is, but that doesn't matter because you're free to take advantage when those things do show up. I'll give you one more. What is it? Oh, you got a Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So you do feel stuck. You don't know where to go, but you're not stuck. That's the irony. You've gotten a lot of info. You know where to go now. Career-wise, you got the Chariot reversed. You got the Four of Pentacles in reversed. And you got the Three of Pentacles in reversed. So that is weird. It does feel like that the way that you've wanted it to look for your careers and going that direction, it also feels like you don't know who to connect with or who to trust, but maybe you're not trying enough to build with other people with that Three of Pentacles reversed. Did you get a Page of Cups there? Yeah, I think that you do need to make contact and do make, some emotionally, simple. You don't need to get too deep, but emotionally, honest calls with what you need with your work life or what you want to do. And I think that you need to start to learn to combine. Everything in your astrology is saying it's time to start working together, start to build things together. Relationship-wise, 10 of Swords reversed, patterns that haven't ended, 9 of Pentacles. I think you know your worth and your value, but there's a judgment here of, is it always the same pattern revolving where you put your own vanity or your own value before connecting? Somebody does something wrong, my worth. That judgment card here is asking for you to do something with others that is in relationship to higher than just yourself and your own value, but the value of the collective. And you did get a Two of Cups here reversed. So I do feel like that you aren't feeling like you are sure about where situations are going emotionally with relationships. But this also could be that there's a higher calling here, and this is the pattern that needs to stop. Thinking that it's over, that it keeps reappearing, is you put this kind of yourself first over people, and there's a judgment coming here, and you need to know how to emotionally connect better in your relationships. You did get a Five of Cups reversed here, and you did get a Seven of Pentacles in reversed here, so I do feel like there is nothing that is as bad as you think, and I do feel like that there's a lot of places that you put a lot of work in, didn't get the return, and you know where those places are, and you know places where you have put the work in, got the return. But you're never going to get a return if you're focused on things that are unhappy or that are bringing you to a place where you're emotionally, still focused on what happened. You need to get out of what happened because you're putting everything in getting the return of what happened. There's a lot about breaking patterns this week and getting out of patterns for you all over this deck and even in the astrology. In Avalon, you got the Tour. I know it looks like a long hill ahead, but it's not. You need to be very clear about it. This is your time to find the truth, know the connection, and build it and go towards it instead of sitting there looking at it. Stop looking at it. Touch it. Go for it. Forgetting oneself. Well, it could be done in a couple different ways, right? You could be forgetting yourself and how you connect with others. Forgetting yourself. I think that this might be the shadow. You think that you've lost oneself. I think that you've only put so much into your own self. I think that this is about you're forgetting the one self that learns how to connect itself with the one and all. You got the Magician. This is a great week overall. It does feel like a new start, a new beginning, but it does feel like a lot of old things are ending and you finally got all the things connected to where you can start to see clearly and where to go. I would apply it and use it and stop doing the same patterns that you've been doing because they haven't been working. You got the 10th house, Neptune. So you do have a spiritual judgment calling, but at the same time, this is also where your strategy has to be a little bit more in the flow and you have to actually pay attention to maybe some hard, rigid ways of the way that you think things should be and of how to get to where you need to go. And really, you need to step back and maybe pay attention to, let me just get there instead of, and soften things up a little bit overall.
Right, Taurus. Well, for you, your ruling planet Venus is in your 12th in Aries, and it is squaring Pluto for the final time that you'll ever see in your life. Venus in your 12th in Aries, square Pluto in your 9th. So kind of a big, belief check, kind of an interesting thing. I feel like you could be projecting sort of some kind of an unconscious fear onto people, or maybe feeling like people are not valuing you, but it's not about that. I mean, you have a ton of 11th house going on, so like people are important right now, your groups, your connections, how you're really individualizing and showing yourself and innovating in your life. These are all very important, but if you think that people are just the reason, you believe that people are the reason that you're not going farther in your career, or that you're not, achieving more, or doing something, or it's because of what people might be thinking or something. I mean, it has nothing to do with other people. You need to remember that you're the first Venus ruled sign. It has everything to do with you. It's all about just how you take care of yourself, how you feel secure, how you feel valued and beautiful in your own uniqueness and in your own self. So I think this is a week where that's highly important. And also, I don't know, it's interesting with your 11th house with the Sun, Neptune, Mercury up there. I mean, I feel like you're trying to figure out some really interesting, unique new ways to express yourself or even your spirituality right now, but you could maybe be getting a mixed review from people. Maybe it's just maybe I feel like a lot of it for you this week is about people, but at the same time, it's not. It's just about you and God and really knowing that everything's going to be taken care of. I mean, if you think about it, you have the most 10th house coming, with Pluto coming into your 10th, Jupiter, Saturn met in your 10th, Mars, Venus, their last conjunction was in your 10th. I mean, you have so much that you're going to achieve. It would be silly to self-undo because you're losing a lack of confidence right now because you think that other people have some kind of an effect on your self-worth and value. And I think that that's a big thing that I want to say just to Taurus, is because you have so much that you're going to achieve and do that you don't have to trip. It's going to work out. You can almost feel like you have to force something right now, or it's almost a projection onto something or someone else. Don't go there. This is a big week to rewire your beliefs and to know that you have an angel watching over you right now so that you don't fuck it up, so that you can really start building what it is that's most valuable to you, most unique to you, and what's going to reinvent the world in many ways. So you have a lot in the 12th right now. Jupiter, Chiron, Venus is finishing there, but you have a lot shifting, and I think that you're going to be very pleased with what you take on moving forward, but don't go feeling like you're just lost in space right now. You're here. Slow down, stay grounded, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, it's ego patterns ending. I mean, really, Taurus is kind of the simplest sign, really. It's just like 12th house Aries, like, okay, it's your ego that puts you down. Uranus in your first house, even though it's about you and finding innovative ways, still having to connect with the collective in a purpose, your 10th house ruler. So I feel like it's like you're getting in your own way or not participating enough. Trust me, I know a lot of Tauruses, they could be doing a lot more, instead of from your own tower. Get out of your own tower. Pretty simple. Virgo rising. All right. Well, Virgos, that's a lot in your relationship house. If anybody is stacked about relationships, it's you all right now. Especially the Sun, Mercury, contacting the ruler, squaring Mars, Mars squaring your ruler, the Moon squaring your ruler of your 7th house. your ruler of your sign in the middle of all that too. If there's any week where it's going to get really weird, it's this week. So be prepared. All right, let's see what's going on. Let's get one more shuffle here. I already know all these Virgo ascendants are like, remember, you're the house of enemies, Virgo. So don't be the enemy, and also don't trip about the enemy, but that's kind of a weird place to be. You got a Page of Wands upright, you got a Magician card reversed, and you got the Hermit. I like this arrangement. I feel like, especially you could see the rods, right? The wisdom rods, right? They got a message to give, but also there is the Magician wand that is reversed. So everything's got to come from a very wise place. It can't just be, what it needs is, like, this is weird. Depth with actual spiritual truth, not just depth. Communicating with depth and happiness, but also spiritual truth behind it, not just trying to put something out or say things, or you need to get to some very valid points here with wisdom and also bring in the magic to it. But also that magic, remember, is understanding how the divinity works. It's not just, I've read some books on it, right? Like, or I've read something, or I have some info. It's like knowing how things really come together. And Virgo, you are one that is always tested on your wisdom and knowledge of your specifics. So this is definitely going to test you in areas where you might be wise, but you have to pay attention to also if you understand how it works too. You did get the Strength card in your career. You got that 5 of Swords, and then you got that Justice card reversed. You got to be careful of not trying to push people away. You don't need to prove your strength to other people. You don't need to force people to do things. And with the Justice card reversed, you're going to have to find a balance of strength and what you need to get done. So that kind of goes with this whole, there's a lot about communication and wisdom this week, and also how to bring it all together. I do feel good though about it. I just feel like you don't need to try and maybe push too hard. Or, that Justice reverse card, you might feel like things have just not been going the way that you want to. But it's, I think, been all your own strength. You did get a 4 of Wands reversed. So it's like the objective you're not focusing on enough. You want to look a certain way. Nothing is about looking a certain way. You want it to feel a certain way. It's more about getting there. Trust me. Any career, the first day feels like shit. Even when you're excited because you need a job or you start a career, it never feels the way you want it to. It's about how you get through it. And you definitely go to the first day of the job and force everybody to fucking be the way that you want them to be. In your relationships, you got the 7 of Swords. Well, we knew that you had a crazy relationship week coming. 6 of Wands. 7 of Cups upright, and the Hierophant. Well, there's definitely a victory overall, but there's a lot of questions going on here and where you're going to place it all at. It's one of those things where you can't avoid the mishaps or can't avoid the weird, shady shit that's gone on. But at the same time, there's a 7 of Cups. There's some unfulfillment here. And the Hierophant is offering the fulfillment spiritually. It's a big question on the quest spiritually on how far you're willing to go. And if it really is, you even know what that is. I almost feel like you're on a round robin. This week it's that. Tomorrow it's this. You got to understand what you want in your relationships. I don't know what's up with that 7 of Swords with this astrology for you this week. Ace of Cups. So I do feel like you do have to kind of, we're seeing a lot of rain here in California, and it's definitely clearing out a lot of the shit all over the concrete and the dirt. Something has to be addressed in your personal relationship life that has to clear things out to understand where it's going. It almost feels like it doesn't know where it's going. It feels like it does. That 6 of Wands, but then the 7 of Cups kind of throws everything off. It's like, well, remember, the 6 of Wands only goes to one destination for one journey, right? It's a mission to get to that quest. But that Seven of Cups is like the quest keeps changing. And also with the Hierophant there, it has to be also, this is what it is. Like, what is it? And I do feel like you're kind of round robining it on certain things in relationships. What's the point? What's the purpose? Where are we going? What do you want? What do I want? You said this to me. I thought it was this. Overall, though, I think it will be okay if you're willing to be honest with the emotional aspect of it all and you're willing to actually pick a quest. You can't have a success if it's all over the place or you're feeling empty emotionally about something. Or if you're feeling empty in an emotional relationship situation and you're looking for prizes. And definitely you don't want to be the shady one using people and waiting for them to run their time out for the next person to come around, right? Kind of what Michael Jackson did. Oh, you are perfect for me. You were Elvis's daughter. I'm in a lot of shit right now. Jump to the next person. You can't be waiting or using people as pawns for the next person. You can't be using people as placeholders. Your overall here is the Queen of Wands in reverse. And then you got the Queen of Swords reversed. Damn. Oh. Kind of makes sense with that Page of Wands. I feel like you're almost coming a little positively, but underneath the Queen of Wands reversed is like, I'm not going to bring all that out. And it almost feels like there's like some sort of like quest to kind of be cold, but direct. So that might help with all the Pisces energy that you're in. But at the same time, you got to bring compassion into all this stuff too. So it's definitely the cold queen outdoing the warm queen. That's a little, we need to find what's in the middle of that. Seven of Wands reversed. So I don't think you really know what position to take right now. That's why you need to be very wise from a spiritual understanding of it all and not just my wise, I figured it out. I'll be this way. I feel like you don't know what position you really want in your life right now, and that's okay. There's a lot of fucking confusion opposing you right now. The responsibility is going to be a big one, and where to understand how to put that responsibility. And you can't change every little fucking thing in life, you know? And you did get the Isle of Avalon. That is the vacation spot to go heal. That is the place where it does feel like a renewal. It almost feels like but maybe that's what you keep doing. And if you haven't been getting what you want from that place, like, you need to pay attention to that. You don't just keep using the Isle of Avalon all the time. Like, let me just keep escaping. Trap Witch put an awesome fucking thing up the other day that I just posted on my Instagram story is about how in relationships, people just keep going on trips just to try and avoid the situations. So, you know, it's like one of those things to where it's like, are you really happy or are you just running to the next thing? Don't use the Isle of Avalon as something that you run to all the time. It's that thing you go to once a year for fucking like a couple days, you know? But that's where it's like undercurrents is what I'm getting of what's really going on. You got alone in the world, and that's what you're afraid to be. But you can't be afraid of that, or you feel alone in the world. Really, it's just a cry for attention. All right? I'm alone in the world. Well, who are you saying you're alone in the world to? Because you're not alone. That's the funny part, right? So I think that, you know, there's a lot of subconscious stuff going on here about some weird situations here about feeling alone or left alone or a little bit, when really it's like we all choose to do that ourselves. It's our actions that we do, how we treat others, and also the way that we, especially Virgo ascendants, like that's the hard part. You can't change people, and you can't try and lure them in certain ways too. You got the Chariot card here. Well, it does feel like you're going on a new journey here. It's a great card. I love that card. The Spirit's going to take you where you need to go. So I feel like there's going to be a lot happening this week. It's going to definitely just like kind of swoop in and take you on a new direction. Just make sure that the magic's aligned and don't try to force things. And a lot of complications in the relationship department, but you'll make it through. You got the Chariot at least. Saturn in the 10th. So it's a great Saturn. But again, you don't want to try and control things, but at the same time that it's time for destiny, it's hit its X spot, it's hit its mark. So it's like the time is up. It's time to get to the bottom of matters and see where things are actually going.
Well, Virgo, lots in that seventh. Like David said, it's interesting. The ruler of your seventh is there with the sun, with Mercury. Mars is in your 10th. Square that. I mean, here's the thing is you can have a lot of ideals or dreams or these visions of how other people are supposed to act in this world or what they're supposed to be doing or something that has nothing to do with you, that you're putting, you could be putting a lot of pressure on others to show up in some idolized fashion that you have made up in your head. And I think that you have to, not get into that place. You don't want to get too lost in dreamland about what other people are supposed to be doing. You'll go crazy. You'll literally lose your mind. You're already trying to get everything so understood and perfect. You'll never understand other people, right? It just is what it is. You have a Pisces 7th house. We'll never fully understand the universe. We'll never fully understand how far it goes. It's like that with people for you. So people are going to do things, act certain ways, and that can throw you, into a fit. Don't let it. Let people be themselves. If they show up a different way than you pictured, just take it as it is. They showed you about themselves, and now you can make a decision based on if you like that reflection or if you do not. So I think that, you have to take responsibility for how you project perfection onto other people and what you think they need to be doing. And even more so with Venus in your 8th house in Aries squaring Pluto in your 5th house. I mean, again, if you have some over-romanticized obsession with how somebody's supposed to be in this world, you need to let that go. Nobody's going to show up exactly perfect all the time, and neither will you. So I think this is a big week where the rose-colored glasses can be heavily on, but they also get kind of ripped off at the same time. And you don't want to just be feeling like I never saw this coming when you probably did. So that's where Mars in your 10th is saying it's now time to take responsibility for the way you thought somebody else was supposed to show up. It's not your job. And it'll make you really confused and feel weird. So don't go there, especially this week.
Yeah, I think the best fishermen are Virgo because as opposed Pisces, Aries is their Mars ruled 8th house, and that's in the 10th house. So it's talk about good fish. You fish people into Neverland like Michael Jackson did, and then you expect them to love it when you act like a creep ball. That's not going to work. So you fish everybody in. I think you're going to be held to the responsibility of what your commitments are. If you promise somebody you were going to do something and then you're changing your mind about it, you have to be able to confront them about it. It's like, you said you were going to do this, but really are you? People are almost feeling like you said you were going to do this, but are you really going to do it? And that might put you in a freak out phase because it's almost like you lured, that was the great bait you used. Yeah, come in here. But you have to be responsible for the things you say. That's the hardest part about being a Virgo, right? You say you're going to do this in the reality, then do it. You can't do the whole back out and pull out into make everybody be lost, right? Your rose-colored glasses are, no, I was going to do it, but I'm not really going to do it. It's like, what? So I think Brian's right. It's almost like it gets kind of ripped off. But I think, again, the pressure's on Mars, which is your 8th house ruler in the 10th. It's extreme about, are you sure you're really going down that road? And that might be hard because you made promises to people, but you really don't want to do that. You promised you were going to go here, you were going to do this, and you really don't want to do that. So you're going to have to become clean about situations that maybe you really were never going to do. Aries rising, and then I think the last one is Capricorn. You like that fisherman one? That was a good one. I was thinking, who would be the only good fisherman that opposed Pisces? Oh, that would be Virgo. 8th house Mars ruler, Aries. Oh, yeah. We're going to do this. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. What? Oh, man. Aries ascendant, man. Just remember, at least you're not Alec Baldwin. who's facing jail. I didn't push the gun, I swear. This is your deepest karmic moment of your whole life. It will not be more karmic than the next couple of years. Remember, the 12th house has to deal with losses. So, just remember, losses bring you to the spiritual place of where something's going to go. Even for those Christians out there, Christ had to lose his life to become Christ. Remember, he was Jesus, and then they had to go to his christening. So you feel like you're going through quite the same moment. You got a Queen of Cups in reversed here. With the Five of Pentacles reversed. And you got Page of Wands. I think that there's a lot more to be positive about. It might feel like there's a lot of uncomfortable situations going on, but you're not getting fucked over. I almost feel like the uncomfortable situations are the thing that are going to be good, but it's offering something new, something exciting, something more positive, not so serious, but at least I think that you need to focus on where you're going to be happier more and let go of where you've over-drenched your emotions to feel safe or wherever you've put too much emphasis on what to have and what to hold, because it's been almost in many ways not really delivering what you thought it would. So I think this is about looking at new, exciting things. Let's see what's going on in your career life. You got the Ace of Cups upright. You got the Temperance card reversed. And you got the Nine of Pentacles reversed. So, I do feel like, it's like you're emotionally just hoping that things become more comfortable in your career, and they definitely can. Although, don't be trying to make leaps and bounds. A Temperance reversed, a Nine of Pentacles reversed. Like, don't be desperate, right? Don't be desperate. Know your worth and value. But at the same time, remember that things take a little bit of time. And what is the stuff that's natural that's working? And what is the stuff that you need to pay attention to what's not naturally working? You might be trying things and it's not working. It's because it's not natural, or maybe you're not meant to do it that way. That Ace of Cups, though, is offering a new way to kind of like refresh and have a better perspective of things emotionally. Relationship-wise, you got the Four of Swords in reverse here. You got the Page of Swords in reversed. And you got the Three of Wands in reverse. So it does feel like you don't know where things are going in your relationship life at all at this moment. Page of Swords reversed too. There's not a lot of clarity. There's also information that might not be as true as you thought it would that might be coming out in the Four of Swords reverse. It's not like you're sleeping good at night, or you might not be feeling comfortable about certain things. It doesn't feel like it's a place of rejuvenation per se. You might be kind of being used maybe in ways in your relationship. You have to actually kind of direct where things are going. You're going down a road that you don't want to go down, Three of Wands reverse, or somebody else's ideal, and you did get a King of Swords there in reverse. So it definitely feels like you're going to have to stand up and say what you need to say, and that might be difficult. And there's also not a lot of clarity, especially with the King of Swords and a Page of Swords in reverse. That's definitely, I think, really difficult, because that could also deal with a lot of information that you didn't know about how somebody has been wanting to direct the story, or somebody told you they were going in this story with you, and then they're really not, right? Oh no, I don't want to do that. What? That's a lot. That's a lot of weird shit there. Or feeling just like things aren't happening there, and you can't find the truth of why. And maybe it's about letting go, and just letting things find their clarity. But you got to find a comfortable space, and you got to be comfortable with the people that you choose. It should be a comfortable place. You got Seven of Cups and a Nine of Wands reverse. Well, it feels like your defenses are down. It feels like you are looking for something that's a prize to make you feel happy, especially with that Page of Wands. I feel like that you're almost not happy and trying to find what's going to make you happy. I think that you need to be honest with yourself that you're depressed and you're not happy. Maybe you're committed to things that don't make you happy. It might be hard, but your mind's in definitely different places, and you're not wanting to protect, or you're not wanting to defend the positions that you're at all. In Avalon, well, you did get, Morgan Le Fay. It is a fated week of prophecy. It almost feels like this is what you've been expecting to come down the tube this week. The huge fate's coming down. It is a darker card. It is kind of like, not dark fate, but it does feel like it's like, finally the real shit's about to pop out here. Let's see what's the shadow here. You did get the envious gluttony. I do feel like there's nothing to be envious about. At the same time, it's almost like trying to find happiness in a place that's gluttony, right? Like eating too much or doing something that you like too much to try and not face the reality of what's happening. Yet you're still not getting enough. Envious gluttony is really weird. It's like you're not getting what you actually want at the end of the day. You got the Emperor reversed. So that is you, Aries rising. That is you. It does feel like it's not going your direction. And you have to remember, the Emperor chooses to lose it or not. So, this is about you having to really make your mark on where things are going, and especially where you're unhappy. And there's opportunities here, but there's a lot of things that are very, been waiting to finally pop itself out and figure themselves out, that you have to take action upon instead of kind of just letting yourself be trampled on, You did get 6th house with Mercury. So, it is stressful, and I do feel like that you are trying to figure things out, but you are smart enough. There's a lot of things that need to be figured out in reality and changed and get the specifics on. So specifics are your best friend, whether you're happy or not happy, what you want to stay with, what you don't want to stay with, because in the 12th house, it almost feels like I'm just going to wait for things to happen. But that's like waiting and watching. One of my best friends died 3 years ago yesterday. And, it's one of those things where it was just the honest truth of like, he had kidney disease and he was on dialysis for so long, but it was one of those things to where once they amputated his leg off and, like 12th house can be just where you're just like in denial. Like, nope, this isn't happening. Like, no, I was prepared that he was going to pass soon. So I made every chance I could to see him, especially once that leg got amputated and they wouldn't give him another kidney because there was cancer on that last kidney of his. So, I think that it's more important to pay attention to the reality instead of just waiting for something to happen.
All right, Aries, lots of 12th, lots of 1st house for you. Kind of a weird thing. There's a lot that you do want to get going. There's a lot that you have to, energy that can be put somewhere, but at the same time, it's Sun, Neptune, Mercury in your 12th, which is very diluted, and your ruling planet Mars in your 3rd in Gemini is squaring that energy. So it's very interesting. Like, your mind can be your friend, but it's not going to have all the answers. It's not going to have everything quite figured out. And only if you're really in the truth of the matter, because you can kind of go off into a delusional space right now of really being way too not in reality, too in your subconscious, too worried about if I do this, what will happen. And I think that Saturn coming into your 12th is another thing that you're just going to have to get used to for the next 2.5 years of, it's not so much about trying to figure out how everything's going to happen. It's taking responsibility for when things show up in your life that you need to make a change. And I think this is a big moment to realize that there's so much on the horizon. There's so much getting ready to, move forward in your life. Maybe you don't have all the answers right now, but you should at least have the wisdom to know that when you feel it and you have a truth lined up in your life, that you do want to act on that. And especially if it's a truth that you've been putting off or that you don't want to look at within yourself, that's the biggest one that you need to pay attention to. And to not project these things as if somebody else is the cause or something is the cause, but to take full spiritual responsibility that it's cycles and patterns that you have it's like a spool of these things that are so full right now, and it's almost ready to completely unspool. It's an interesting place to be in. There's a lot of, benefit to your action, to your doing, to, you being and showing up as yourself. But there's also something that's saying you do have to kind of sit with yourself, or at least come to some kind of an understanding within yourself that isn't so mental, but it's more practical, more based on how are you showing up for yourself? How are you showing up for others? How are you showing up spiritually? And I think if you can come to that place where you can realize where maybe you're letting really yourself down spiritually is actually affecting every piece of your life right now. If you can take responsibility for that and act on that, your environment will change. You'll feel more healthy mentally. You'll feel more healthy physically. And hopefully you can come to that place this week, because it is a big week, and Mars is coming into your 4th and Pluto's coming into your 11th. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of change that's coming. And if you kind of go into the next phase with all this first house energy that you're about to have, but with Mars in Cancer in your 4th, you can feel, even more debilitated than maybe you feel right now if you don't come to these subconscious conclusions about where you're repeating things and not serving yourself or others better.
Yeah, 12th house is also toxins, where we remove the toxins, and with Mars squaring it and all this shit, it's like the environment. So you have to it's hard to see, but it's like actually Mars is pretty clear. What environment do I get stuff out of Uranus in the 2nd that's advancing my life? Or where is it that the toxic energy is just toxic and it doesn't make me advance and it doesn't make me connected to, with Saturn now in the 12th, but it is your ruler of the 10th. It's like, where is it taking your career down without even realizing it? The environment that you got to be honest with. Yeah, and I think, again, it's not about waiting for things to happen in the 12th. It's about, cutting the supply off before it becomes toxic. Before it ends up going to a job, right? It's like an addiction. You're doing heroin every day. Now you're doing fentanyl. You don't think you're going to end up in a hospital almost dead? You're in an abusive relationship. Blah, blah, blah. You don't think it's going to turn into an abuse? Now it's going to get crazy. Especially, it was good that you brought up that Mars in Cancer. I forgot about that. That's debilitating as fuck for an Aries. And that also means moving and all these kind of crazy things that are on the horizon here. So it's like one of those moments that are about deep truth that really is about subconscious truth and old patterns that have been playing themselves out for 30 years, the same pattern. And I feel like that's hard with Venus and Aries. It's going to square Pluto. That's definitely one of these moments of your 7th house squaring your Pluto 8th house ruler. It's going to be definitely some extreme relationship shit, commitment shit, honest shit, truth shit. It does feel like you're kind of in a fuck show, but at the end of the day, it's all about just staying away from, what's taking you downwards. What might look like it's taking you up is actually taking you down. That's the other 12th house thing I've learned my whole life, is like, what looks like so good, like an alcohol or a drug, right? It looks like it's taking me up, but it's really taking me down. Last one here, Capricorns, Cap risings. All right, I just cleared this jack like a mofo for you Capricorns with your last week of Pluto and Capricorn, for the moment at least. There's only 196 more days total from now until November of Pluto Capricorn. So it's almost half a year. Remember, it's going to come into Aquarius in 2024. It's going to stay in Aquarius a lot longer. Remember, though, this year it's not doing that much. So you're going to start to see what this is all going to be about. Getting out of your sign. So the last week of that, let's see what it's going to reveal for you. Devil reversed. Ace of Wands. Sun reversed. Wow. I don't know. I feel like you're definitely letting go of some dark shit here. That's going to open up a much more better possibility for your happiness. But the Sun reversed here, I feel like, you're going to have to hold your ground of your true soul. I almost feel like, this is going to be a difficult week, because it's not so much difficult, it's going to be difficult to apply. How to get your soul back into alignment here. That's definitely Pluto at the end of your own sign, right? It's like one of those moments where it's like, are you going to let Pluto suck away your soul into the death, or are you going to let yourself transcend to who you really are and your honest soul? You don't want to be taking on the things that aren't really making you want what you want. You can't be in anything where you're like, I don't really want this in my life. Anything that you are kind of fiddling on the roof with, like, I kind of like it, I kind of don't. You can tell, right? Like Capricorns, when they're all about it and when they're not about it. So it's like one of those, are you really all about it? Like, are you fucking really fuck yeah, I'm getting to the top of this shit. What are the places that you need to stand up for yourself where your soul's not feeling that it's connected to, especially a Sun card with the Devil reverse there? You're trying to save your soul in many ways. Some dark energy that is kind of sucking the life away from you. Career-wise, you got the Judgment card reversed. You got the Ace of Pentacles reversed. You got the Two of Wands upright. So I think your vision of the world that you want's there. You know you have all the tools, but it just doesn't feel like it's the moment has come for the big rise of judgment, or it's paying attention to what spiritually isn't aligning correctly in your career right now. That, you know, it's almost like Spirit's calling, the trumpet's calling, the judgment's there, but it almost is like not stepping up to it in that way. Maybe it compromises some part of you, or maybe you have a commitment to other parts of what your career is doing that maybe aren't really part of the spiritual path. We'll pull, what is that Judgment reversed? Oh yeah, I said, that's what I said. Something that you're holding on to about your career the way you want it to, but is it really part of the spiritual thing, or is it part of some other thing, some sort of gain, or to try and have something? There's definitely a connection here with this Devil reverse shit and this Sun reverse. You got the World card reversed in your relationships. You got the Seven of Cups here. You got the King of Wands here. That's great. Well, that World card is really not knowing where this world's turning in your relationship life. You got a Seven of Cups there. There's definitely an empty void there, and not knowing where the prize is in the relationship, and maybe you have a bunch of people that if you're single out there dating and you don't know, or if you're in a relationship trying to find what's to grab onto. King of Wands there is you're showing up with all your loyalty and all your might and all your commitment to it, but it doesn't feel like it's getting it. What's the deal there? Six of Swords. It feels like you're needing to go to a better place, or the relationship needs to find a better place, but I don't know if that's really known where it is. There's definitely some gnarly worlds here or at least some completions that aren't not complete. It can kind of feel stuck, but it also feels like you want to go where you want to go. I feel like you're doing the right thing, but at the same time, you're feeling like there's something off, like something's not making you feel fulfilled, or something you thought was once a prize is making you look in other areas as a prize. It's not the world you thought it would be. That's a confusing place. Where are you at? Oh, King of Swords reversed. Yeah, it's very unclear. You were very confident, and now you're not. Like the facts aren't making sense, but the loyalty is making sense. That's gonna, this is very Pluto. If anybody right now in the zodiac we're about to watch and see are Capricorns. This is the last week of Pluto and Capricorn, where it's like, are you going to fall off the cliff, or are you going to stay on the cliff? And how is that going to happen? With your soul, the Devil card reversed, shit. What's your overalls? 8 of Pentacles upright, 4 of Cups. So yeah, I feel like it's like, yes, life is work and we can create great things, but it almost feels like there's something, you're not happy with the way that the emotions are coming to you, the gifts are coming to you. It's like it's not good enough. You want something else. What is it that you want? The Moon. Damn. Some emotional situation that you're going through inside that hasn't come out yet. So how can you actually get a cup from God if you haven't fully let the emotion out of what you don't want or what you do want? That's going to be interesting. Where are you at in Avalon this week? You got the Dragon. Well, this is going to be an intense week. The Pathfinder, the one that has strength. This is the card that does give you the ability to fucking really finally have the power to start making things happen. It does feel like you're going to have to really wrangle with the Dragon energetically. That Devil reverse and the Sun card reverse, that's a really extreme pop out at the beginning of a deck. And it is the Pathfinder card here. Where are you at with your shadow? The child I was meant to be. Things that you thought were meant to be aren't meant to be the way that you thought they were. Definitely on a much more personal level. Could even deal with your own childhood situations, but it's definitely where, you thought something was meant to be and it's turning out not to be. And that's the shadow it was meant to be this way. It was meant to be this way, and it's not. And that's okay. I just think that you got to, pathfind now. What is your final card here? The Empress reverse. So it does feel like there's not a lot of support for your value, or that you've lost your own value and lost, the energy is dwindling from your ability to manifest and create the beautiful life that you want. So you got to pay attention to where that toxic bleed is happening, because that's extremely important. It's easy in the 12th house to look like things are okay when really they're slipping down a hill, or into a jail. You got the part of fortune in the 10th. Well, yeah, it's fortune. Your fortune is destiny is crossing the X right now. It's the X factor moment for you in your life. Holy shit.
All right, Caps. Well, hey, you get to finally, after 16 years after this week, taste Pluto not in your sign. So that's kind of exciting. And I guess we'll all see how that manifests for the Caps. Hopefully, it might tear down some sense of confidence to rebuild it much stronger, but you found identity, and that's important to have moving into value. Well, there's a lot going on in the third, so it's very mental this week. It can definitely be delusional thoughts or maybe doubting, maybe feeling like a martyr mentally, or that's like the Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Neptune in Pisces, like maybe some kind of mental doubt that's holding you back from making the necessary changes. Mars in your sixth, it's gone through the whole retrograde process. It's almost out of shadow, and it's square the Sun, square Neptune for the final time. That's going to square Neptune. Like there's little changes that need to be made. There's attention that has to be paid to certain aspects of reality. And if your mind is so ungrounded that it's completely lost focus, completely not paying attention, and almost just in this big fog, then it's going to be harder to make those necessary moves. And I think that there could be stuff going on, of course, with the home life. Venus is in your fourth house in Aries. It's squaring Pluto for the final time in Aries, Capricorn for you. So it's just an interesting time of maybe getting more of the environment paid attention to. And this goes into home, this goes into emotion, this goes into your relationships. Who do you live with? What kind of conversations are you having? Is there fact based around it, any of it, or is it all just kind of a delusion? And there could be some of that shows up where it's like, wow, this really isn't working because it's not the environment I'm meant to be in. It's not the day-to-day life that I should be doing to achieve my highest purpose, to commit to some of the biggest things. So very interesting week for you, but I think it's the biggest thing to try your best to pay attention, to try your best to see things for what they are and to not just overlook things. You kind of want to come back to earth a little bit. You could be a little spacey right now, a little, imaginative, and imagination's a beautiful thing, but it's not very cool and it doesn't do anything for you if you don't use it in your life to create something or to better yourself or the situations that you're in or to firm up the foundation. So interesting week for you mentally. I think, don't get too much in your head, but at the same time, it is a week to pay attention. So I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just paying attention. Mars getting hammered here. The fourth house ruler for you in the sixth. It's a reality check emotionally, a reality check of what's working foundationally, to all the way the ability of Pluto, which is your 11th house ruler. It's so weird because it is kind of this moment here where it's like, what is the world that you want to have? Are you sure that it's actually happening? There could be this third house trip out here of like, I thought that it was going to go if I went this way, especially if you made major changes before the major changes are even able to be enacted yet. So it's almost like, oh my God, is this really the change now? Yeah, it is. It's the change starting to happen now, not the change that you thought was happening a while back. Like that was leading you up to go to this change. And that might be the fuck show in your mind of the reality check as Mars hasn't moved out of Gemini. And it's still in Gemini all week. And it's going to be squared by all these energies that are the ruler of your third, are the ruler of your eighth, are the ruler of all these intense truths of like even Mercury, the ruler of your sixth, where Mars is. And that Mercury-Mars square is difficult because it's like a stress of truth, a stress of what changes need to be made that are not factually true to that you thought were true. So it's pretty intense. But that's the best way to go out of a Pluto in your sign with a bang, So this is where we're going to move to Spiritual Daddy Overtime. We're just going to cover this for the next 15, 20 minutes. So if you stay with us, I hope everybody has a good week, of course. But we are now going to move to about this financial crisis situation, astrologically speaking. So one thing I want to remind people is that the North Node's in Taurus. So, it is literally about remembering the foundations and the things that you have. Again, if you're reliant upon outside energy, right? An investor, a venture capitalist. Silicon Valley Bank was an investor bank. It's where 50% of all startups, they keep all their money. So it's one of those things to where if you are in reliant upon this outside source, especially if it's not true to creating something, right? It's like you're relying on your mom to give you money, but that's just because, like, you know, you don't want to do anything. There's got to be a reality, physical aspect to it. It's like what you're able to create is where your power is. I just put up a tweet today saying, well, since VCs are going to be so scared, and they are terrified right now, they don't know where to put their money. They don't know what stuff to do. They have to look at their portfolios all differently. It's like, if you have a great idea, you have to create it yourself. And this is one of those moments where you have to also be, you know, I hate to be honest, but Taurus is one of those places where it's like, you're either valuable or you're not based upon what you make. That's the hard thing, you know? Like if you're short-cutting yourself and saying, I'm only worth this, and that's all that I ask for in my career, or that's all that I want to do, that's a financial crisis in your own self that you're creating because you're expecting and you're hoping for things to be different or big change to happen, or if you're in reliance upon some outside entity to keep you alive and that isn't going well, that's a sign that it's bad, just the same way that the banks are going through. So if you're in a bad connection or a bad shared income or a bad relationship where it's like the commitment and what I get and what you get and all that, and it's bad already, like you've already lost your own value, you've already lost your own worth, then of course it's going to come down. And especially with this Mars T-square, you know, it's one of those moments in Gemini that's going to be squaring Neptune and everything. It's like all the subconscious shit over the last 5 months is coming up to bubble and burst right now of truth, but also what's not spiritually connected, what's not in alignment, right? So a lot of these startups, you have to remember, we're all the bet that eventually they'll become a Fortune 500 company, or the bet that eventually that they will be a huge company. But what people weren't paying attention to is 50% of this bank was holding all of the big companies that interact with all your apps and all of your stuff that's happening in the tech world. So people don't realize that at the same time, like my payroll, Gusto, literally sent me a thing like, yeah, we're part of it, but don't worry, we're figuring things out to move money, right? But it goes all the way to Airbnb is part of this. I put it on my Instagram, the 30 companies that are just that you know of. That's not including all the other 2,500 you don't. But all the third parties that are software companies and all these tech companies that are behind everything, yes, the government is going to secure deposits for the depositor, not the bank. So they're not bailing out the bank, but they're bailing out the depositor past the limit of $250,000. So what happens if all of our banks go down? Do you think they would do that for all of us, but they're doing it only for Silicon Valley people? It's kind of one of those situations where it's like a bailout without looking like a bailout, which we know how bailouts turn out. They turn out bad. So it's one of those moments to where it's like, again, if you're in reliance upon this kind of like, well, this is taken care of for me. You want to make sure that you also have your talents and abilities and make sure that you're shored up with that understanding within yourself. And also, this is a matrix. This is a time to be in your deepest spiritual truth and on the spiritual mission. You wouldn't set yourself up for a spiritual mission to fail. The only time it's going to fail in your life is if you're really connected to something that honestly is not part of your spiritual mission, that's diverting you from it farther. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's something that we've been talking about as astrologers for quite some time now. You know, we kind of had to wait till these nodes got all the way to the end of Scorpio and Taurus to see, and we talked about Pluto finishing in Capricorn a lot. Like it's not a big surprise to me. Like I kind of thought it might happen a little bit sooner over, you know, say the last year than it did. But you know what? I'm not super surprised, and I think it's just the dominoes are going to start to fall. It's been about knowing that you can do it, right? Having the capacity to create. That's everything right now. And there's going to be ways to play in the matrix and like still do it, but it's also knowing that you have the power to do it instead of just the full reliance that something else is always going to show up and do it for you. Like, I mean, I think of like ETFs in the market where you just kind of give your whole portfolio to an ETF and they manage everything. Like, that's probably not going to be a thing anymore. Like, I think we're just starting to see dominoes start to fall. And I think that Silicon Valley Bank was a good, first example, but it's not like the last one, And I think that, we talked a little bit before the show about, the other banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, how they're not looking very good right now. And there's almost like this herding over to just like JP Morgan or like maybe one other. And I think it's so interesting that they're getting people to go to kind of one place. And especially because it's JP Morgan, because JP Morgan has the monopoly on the gold and silver market. So the precious metal market is extremely manipulated and suppressed by JP Morgan. Will that eventually go up? I don't know. It
did rally today.
What was that?
It did. The precious metals rallied today and the stock market did not.
Yeah. So it might, but it's like you're always going to have to kind of figure out what the system's doing. But the system is about to start looking way different than the game we've ever played or ever thought we would play. And it's just part of life right now. But I think, we're just at a place where we're seeing the dominoes fall, and we're seeing that just because we felt so safe in a bank, or maybe not everybody here, but a lot of people felt so safe putting their money into some bank, that maybe that's not safe. Maybe that's actually the place that tries to control you and kind of manipulate you more than it already does. So I don't know. It's very interesting. We're going to see where it goes. I think that was just like the first domino to fall. It'll be interesting to see what dominoes start falling after that one just got pushed over. Do you think there's going to be more dominoes that fall?
Well, yeah, already the dominoes are happening. But it's like weird because it's not surprising because it was all happening for the last year, especially through these Mars square Neptune transits. It was like SVB. But people have to realize is every bank, you put a deposit in, they take your money to go make money with it, to make money. That's how a bank makes money. So they invest that into different assets, money market, right, in the stock market, or bonds, which is what they did. Bonds, which bond and the yield curve has been so bad because the Fed raised the rate. So they couldn't cover the cash because once you put it in a bond, it's stuck in the bond. People have to buy those bonds, but they have negative yield, so they're losing money on your money. And that's what happened was they went out and they tried to do a big sale on their stock they were like, we just need to cover 1.8 billion in assets. And when we do that, everything will be fine. But then that's when all the VCs started calling each other and say, bank run, bitch, bank run. They're not fucking as secure. And that created a bank run, and that's what happened. And boom. Stopped it. The FDIC came in, the feds came in, shut down the bank. Then this weekend, there were 1 million phone calls between Congress people, and nobody wants to be part of the bailout anymore, right? So the Fed is the one stepping in, and the Fed is securing deposits over $250K for SVB people. But I think that's what's fucked up. What happens if that happens to any other bank? Are they going to do that for every bank now? Is the FDIC raising the limit to unlimited amount of what your deposits are? One of the smartest things that you can do is remember that there was a bunch of VCs I follow that when they do these big deals, they make sure that you only put the money in $250K at a time. So if you're going to give somebody a big loan for $10 million for a startup, you don't do it with here's $10 million. You do it in here's $250K, here's $250K, here's $250K, right? So those are all secured, right? But the Fed is almost like what they're not talking about, that you think your money's safe and all the FDIC and all this shit. If they're giving all that money that would be secured by the banks, that's insurance, right? It's insurance that the banks pay. So the banks are using their insurance from JP Morgan to Bank of America to all of them, and they've paid that the Fed's using that money just on this one bank. Think about that.
Yeah.
What happens when it all falls? The other thing is I know people are like, well, look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up to 24K today. It went down to 19 and it's up 24, right? It was a huge swing. And then gold, silver, all these things started pumping, right? But it's a centralized system because where's that money going to go? Unless you're really using crypto with your own you have to have your own ability to have control of that crypto, not on a centralized market. Coinbase was part of this fucking SVB too. right? There's not many places. Binance, the way that we're dealing with the Chinese and we're dealing with all that, do you really think that they're going to allow soon? TikTok was part of SVB money. To me, it seems like it was all planned, right? It's one of those things to where it's like, unless you have your own cold storage of your crypto, I don't think we're going to even find a way for people to understand how to trade that shit for a while. Most people don't have their own cold storage. Most people don't know how to use Ledger. Most people don't have to know how to use the encrypted parts of that and keep their money on there and then also use the Bluetooth aspect. And if there is electrical problems, or if they do go to a CBDC, which is what President Biden just ironically at the end of December signed into law to start letting the Fed start to implement and try. I mean, it's one of those moments to where people have to have Bitcoin or have that in order for you to exchange it. But most people won't. So most people are, it's one of those things where it's like, well, and it's not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm putting my Bitcoin into CBDC money. That was the other thing is stable coins, 25% of stable coin from Circle was in SVB. So that's why stable coins went down to 91 cents on the dollar. So the crypto market is not your safety security. And I know that there's a lot of people who are saying that it is. But it also is the end of Pluto Capricorn, and Bitcoin came out with Pluto Capricorn. So it's one of those moments where I think we don't know what the safe place is for the money. Anybody who says they know it's safe is lying. It's one of those moments to where there's going to be another currency or another thing that we're going to call value and money that will pop out. And we don't know what that is yet. So don't trip and know that anything that will take you down at this moment is where you are not spiritually aligned for what you're connecting with. Period. It's just going to come down to whether or not you think spiritually it's okay when the universe is going to be like, no, I've always said this about anything in life. When things are going bad in the financial aspect, you can't make the money you want and you start stressing and you start tripping, it's because you need to look around at the environment around you. That's what comes after Taurus is Gemini. Like, what's the environment like? Is the environment good? It's not. Here's the truth. This is why your money sucks. So it's like one of those moments where it's like, are you in a healthy spiritual environment? Are you with the energy that's really aligned with you spiritually or not? Because that's what sucks us dry all the time. And that's what South Node Scorpio does. It's a vampire that you don't know is fucking sucking all the blood from you and you think it's great. And you're intoxicated by it, but really it's taking away your life. So it's one of those moments to where you have to pay attention to what you're committed to and what you've actually shared your energy in that's involving a bank, that's involving a person, that's involving all the other aspects in your life. And especially because it's a Pluto Aquarius coming, it's about the collective. Are you doing things that's really for the collective or is it for selfish gains? During the Oscars, I was so happy to watch the winners. It was Brendan Fraser for The Whale. That was such a spiritual movie about humanity. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once is a spiritual movie about what we talk about, multi-dimensions, connecting to your higher self. It was like anything that was trying to go for its own gain in the physical reality lost. The actors lost. The movies lost. The directors lost. Like Elvis didn't win shit. It's just like, we already know who Elvis is and somebody else playing Elvis and doing a movie about a guy who's already dead. I'm sorry to say, that's just like, that's very Scorpio. Like, it's not Taurus. It's not original, right? The Whale was original. Everything Everywhere at Once was original. Even the screenwriters and even the directors never believed that they could get there, and they think they're fucking kindergarten teachers and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those moments to where it's like, Saturn and Pisces on top of it is anything that is not spiritually in your life. If you're doing it for a gain of security in a way that really will compromise some of your spirituality because you're not willing to look at it, and you're playing for the matrix life and you're trying to have this matrix life thing, you're going to lose bad. You know, you have to trust that spirituality and the spiritual ways of doing things are going to be the only way through this. And that's what Taurus is, about aiming your life towards the heavens to create something. If you're connected to something where it doesn't want to create a heaven and it doesn't actually want to create the same value that you do, Uranus is going to beat you in the ass. Because even though North Node is in Taurus, Uranus is there. So it's like, oh, yeah, your value is different than that. We want to both do this, but you don't want to do that. Well, oh, fuck. You know, it's like I'm having a kid with my fiance. We both wanted to have a kid. So a kid's going to work out. But if one person was like, I don't know about that. You know, we both want to move to the same place. We both want to do this in the same energy. You have to find energy where you both want to, or you and whatever the energy is that you're pouring your life into has to be on the same value, or it will be horrible. You know, you can't have anybody who's like, I don't know if I want to do that too. We'll just deal with it later. That's the problem, right? That's the same way of how the banks are. Well, we'll deal with it later. We'll just figure it out later. You know, that's very Scorpionic. Like, hopefully we'll come to the same page eventually. Not going to happen. You know, so especially with Pluto about to square the nodes. It's pretty gnarly, right? Like this South Node Pluto, not gonna fucking be nice. Saturn at least is aligning with the nodes, but it's Saturn in Pisces, so it's better be really spiritually all true and not fake. And you know what's the hardest about Saturn in Pisces is what you think is true will hit you hard of what's an illusion if it's really not spiritually true. And so that's what's going to be kind of hard, is I think that, you know, you might think in your head or your ego that something's good and right. But I use the Oscars as an example because it was really easy to see that everybody who was there for other reasons didn't win. But the people who really weren't even there ever believing that they could get an Oscar won. Right? So I use that as kind of like the test right now of like, you know, those who are going to be okay through this, they're on their spiritual mission, and there's no question about whatever they connect with in their life, their money or anything, to places that are doing something that is spiritually good and putting them into the collective. If it's pulling you more away from the collective, if it's pulling, that's Pluto and Aquarius coming to square the nodes. If it's pulling you more away, that's going to be a problem. You know, like you're just, you know, deconstructing yourself, like, for your own gain of what you want in your own mind. And then the other part is whatever the counterparts are in your life, are they really on the same page? I think that's going to be what's scary. Are they on the same page? I think that people are going to realize like, well, I mean, we are on some things, but not on all. Like, it's not about all, but it's more about like some pretty deep values. You know, if you want to get here and that person doesn't want to go there, what are you doing? Same thing with your bank. I want to put my money in there and I want it to be safe. Well, we want to do it with it this way. Okay, I guess I'll accept that. You'll accept that? You got to look at your own personal life first, instead of the outside of the bank. Pluto's always about the outside, right? The outside institution, the outside financial institution, the outside bank. Let's not forget, everybody right now at this moment, we already are at a horrible position in the government where the government isn't paying bills already that they need to do. And that's about people's retirements and 401ks. Now the Fed is going to save all these really high-end brokers because they think it'd be too bad for the economy, right? That have money in there. They're not going to save the bank, and they're hoping for somebody to buy the bank. And even Elon Musk said that he wants to buy the bank, right? So basically he can own all the tech, right? And all the ideas of the tech. But it's one of those weird moments here where it's like, okay, the government's wanting to do all this shit, but it's like, let's not forget that there's a government shutdown coming because they have not agreed. Biden wants to spend $7 trillion on his plan. Republicans don't. So they'll probably shut down the government. So all the things that you rely on, the mail, all these other entities, even if you haven't got your tax returns yet, they're trying to tell people, oh yeah, your tax return, blah, blah, blah. Pfft. My retirement's okay. My 401, that's the place to look at, you know? And I think it's one of those hard things because sure, it's easy to say, I'm pulling all my money out and I'm putting it into crypto or I'm putting it into gold. Well, how are you going to pay your bills that you still have to pay? You know? And it's also one of those things where you can lose money by just having, well, I have a Coinbase card, or that's not a centralized thing that can just, as we've seen with Voyager, as we've seen with FTX, as we've seen with all these other things, just in 1 minute go away. So, again, I don't think that there is some answer. I think it's more spiritual, and I think it's more of like, is it really robust wherever you're putting your energy? And is it creating something, or is it, are you losing your own value in your own life by where you're going? Trying to leech and hold on to something that you don't want to lose. You don't want to have that kind of attachment where like, I can't lose that, you know? because then there's a huge problem.
Yeah, I would say to add on that, I think you're 100% correct in everything you said. But when it comes to like wanting some like safety net or a safe spot to put, like, we don't know. And that's the thing that we have to be okay with. But it's not going to come down to like knowing necessarily what it's going to be so you can front run it. This isn't like, I guess some people might want to look at this as like a get rich quick thing, because, there'll probably be a way that some people will acquire wealth through whatever transition this is. That always happens. But it's more about the physical. What kind of talents do you have? What kind of physical things can you provide? It's more about what do you have to offer in your environment that have value. So it's not so much about having this store of value. It's what value can you provide? That will get you through wherever things are going. If you live in a place and you have something that the collective and the people in that area will need, by a service. Maybe it's heating and air conditioning. Maybe it's going fishing to provide food. I don't know. Maybe it's underwater basket weaving for some people, because in that environment, that's going to be gold. I don't know. We don't know yet, but it's about like, that's what I think the North Node in Taurus is about. It's like your capacity to find your talents and what you're good at and what you can build and create, so that when things do go into some sort of a new financial place or a new system of currency or transfer of currency, that you, even if you don't have it or you didn't front run it, that you can still create it, because you have something that you can provide the collective with that we're always going to need, because we're always going to have to work together somehow. And that's the best form of trade, is a service for value, right?
Yes.
That's my opinion.
It's also, I think, Uranus and Taurus saying that we all, including myself and everybody else, has to find different things to put out, to create, that are different than we're used to. So instead of looking at it of where to put my money, it's where to put your talent, like you said.
That's what, exactly, yeah.
In a different way, too. Like, I have a huge warehouse here. It's like, well, I had all these ideas of what I could be doing. I could be servicing jet skis, maybe. I could be creating a press and creating something here. I've got the electricity. I've got the ability to do a full warehouse here. But it's also about what you have. That's the hard part about Taurus. So, even if you might not have as much as some other people, your computer that you have is of ultimate value. Are you really going to try and sell that for some basic bullshit because of some desire that you want, when that's your creation method? Think about the stuff. This is not about selling. This is about holding on to the things of value. If you're going to sell something, it better be to sell something, to buy something that's of value for your worth to create with. You really need that Xbox if you're out of money? Like, when that could buy a laptop that's going to build a video or build, this is where you have to throw yourself into realizing where you're at. And if you're also in a reliant place where you don't have all the money and somebody else is taking care of everything, that's the problem. That's where, because it's not a full commitment, that's the thing. Scorpio deals with that commitment of marriage or whatever, right? That other step besides just the contract, that emotional commitment. Like, I'm making a baby with my fiance, we're engaged. There's a whole like, okay, she does this, I do that. And there's been a set emotional and physical creating point to merge those things together. But if it's just a hearsay thing, that's scary. It'd be like a roommate who's like, I'm taking care of all this shit, but you guys don't really have a contract. Those are the areas to be scary of right now, because that's exactly what the banks do, right? Like, well, they said that they would hold my money, but they went and did this with it. They said they were going to take care of this. It'd be like your roommate saying, yeah, don't worry, I pay for the electric and you do this, but you guys don't have a contract, you don't have something. Boom. They didn't pay it. Oh, I promise I'll always do this for you. What? And that's how the rug, Pluto needs integrity, and it needs some sort of goal and basis point that's actually like, this is what it is, And And those are contracts that, have to be connected on the Scorpio side with the Taurus side, right? The contract we have with spirit to create something for the collective. The contract that we have that if we're in a relationship, then there could be shared energy because it's a defined relationship on a deeper emotional, spiritual connected level that actually has a physical aspect to it. What are you creating in the relationship that actually is something physical? That's why a ring, for example, is something that promises with a physical entity that you will be committed to that person. These are spiritual traits that go back beyond just the last 100 years of what you expect. Like, if you're saying, I'm promising my love to you and I'll take care of this for you, but you're really not. Let's say you're in a relationship with a guy and he said he's going to do all these things for you and pay for everything for you, but he hasn't put a ring on it yet. That's a problem. It's not one of those times to where you can just be like, oh yeah, I'm just going off the trust of that. No, you need to have a physical understanding, right? Like, not a time to be playing around with, well, yeah, we're kind of doing it. It's like all in or not to create. It's like one of those moments. And I think Brighten said it best. What you can offer community and people around, but also the world in weird ways, right? Like, what's going to be the breakthrough that you can be? And that forces you to step up your value and your self-worth and know how to produce yourself and make the energy wholesome and good and put it out. You don't want to be a copycat at this time. You want to be different. You want to be unique. You want to express your value. And that's what the throat deals with. So you don't walk into a bank and be like, can I get my money? It's like, no, that's my money. That's my value. That's my worth. That's how your relationship should be. It should be that concrete. That's how your relationship with your bank should be. Your relationship with your business, your relationship with your partners in business, your relationship with all the companies you work with. You need to have those convos and those talks, because if they're all in the background and all like, maybe, I don't know, because that's the truth, even though, no, we had the talk. No, you don't have a contract with it. You don't have a spiritual contract. You don't have a contract in other ways. I mean, what are you doing? At least I know I'm having a child with my fiance. Like, it's not like my name is not on all the aspects, including the birth certificate that's going to come out. That child is, we have a contract by spiritually, but also more. So everything in life has to have like an understanding, and it also has to have a physical representation. If you're throwing yourself to the wind and just, it's okay. It'd be like saying like Jack Sparrow. I'm going to make a contract with Jack Sparrow. He's promising he's going to take care of the boat and I can live on it. I mean, he might get drunk one day and change his mind. You have no contract. It's not like you're in love with Jack fully, but you think that you guys are best friends, but really not. This is where people start turning. And like I said, with Pluto and Aquarius and a lot of other stuff I've said, boy, oh boy, this is where people are going to start knocking on doors out of nowhere. Hey. And you don't want to be that person that has to go knock on doors. I put that warning out for a long time. So and I'm not trying to scare people, but it's just like, you didn't follow through on understanding like your Scorpio and Taurus things. Especially if you have intercepted Taurus and Scorpio in your chart. Boy, you're most aimed at right now. Or you have a very bad Venus and if your Venus is in a bad place, or you have a Venus Scorpio energy, or the ruler of, especially even the Pluto class I've been teaching, right? Your Pluto already is going to be hard if you do have the moon in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, and it's going to be easier if you have Mars in Scorpio or Pluto in Scorpio. Already, you get a stronger Pluto score. Like, you have to remember that Pluto scores and what's going to happen on Pluto and transit and so forth is based upon how strong your Pluto is. Like, if you have a weak Pluto, and it's more than just, remember, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, right? So it's like, the shit that's going to go down is based upon the Venus-Pluto aspects of your chart, your life, the positions, how strong they are, and understanding those things. How to weather these things, and how well you are with value and desire, and knowing how to get it and how to know where the boundaries are with it, and knowing your values, not overstepping them or undercutting your values, but making commitments that aren't worth it. Like, you have to really understand these things to understand where we're at right now. And it's much more than the physical, but the spiritual, that Pisces is going to take away everything that's not spiritual fast. It's already doing it right now. So, some deep shit.
Very deep. I mean, talked a lot about contracts. That was like a prediction I made coming into this year, was with the nodes shifting and the south node coming into Libra and Pluto degressing back into Capricorn at 29 degrees, where it's going to square these nodes, is that's going to be a theme of this year, is going to be contracts void. A lot of contracts, I believe, are going to be voided out, that we've made some kind of a commitment to, a relationship to. Could be with the system, so it could be contracts, business contracts, all the way down to personal life contracts of, you know, like you were saying, share an apartment with someone, I pay this bill, whatever. There's just going to be contracts being ripped apart in front of our face, in my opinion. We'll see if that comes true or not, but that's something that I was feeling coming into this year, knowing that was coming. And I think that also having Pluto come back to 29 and having the North Node come to 29 degrees of Aries, which is where we're going to see this solar eclipse in a month and a half. Like, this solar eclipse is an ignition point into a lunar eclipse in Scorpio that is like, WTF, like, what the fuck, into Pluto square the nodes, square that eclipse point. So yeah, I just think that, yeah, like we were talked about and started this with, the domino has fallen, and we're just going to see so much more fall, and that's okay. I think a lot of people want it to fall anyways. So it's like, enjoy the show. Know that you didn't come here to not provide value to live. Like, you did. And if you follow your spiritual path and if you stay committed to that, you're going to be just fine. No matter what you end up doing, you'll acquire value and you'll get into the right contracts, because this is going to be about so much of the identification of wrong contracts that the only other option is to commit to the right contracts in your life and not faulty, fake, shady contracts with anything in your life.
Yeah, which I think is based off Taurus, right? If it actually has value and worth, right? Because like it's got to have that opposing point. So it's like the contracts where there's really no value and worth that's gaining for the collective in any way or creating something that actually has worth. Because that's the thing, we could say we're creating something, but if it doesn't actually have value or worth for the collective, it's going to be just like, that's what's going to be voided out, is the contracts that you think are solid oak when it's not solid oak. Like, it's just kind of like more of a transfer of like exchange without a creation element. So I think you're right. I think contracts are going to be voided out, but Pluto at the end of Capricorn is like paying attention to who's irresponsible, right? Like who's not going to follow through on their end fully.
Which right. Ironically, I think is going to be the government.
Yeah, it definitely already been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to tell people to like look at the deeper inside, because I think the government's also part of like, we saw this in the last time that Pluto was here, right? It was like, well, the government changed. It went to continental in a war. And that's the other thing, is like, I put up a thing about war bonds. I've been thinking about that for a long time. That came. And that's like a kind of a propaganda thing where people could put their money to make money off the war. But, you know, I think it's like that Pluto Capricorn shit is in your own life first, in your own integrity. You know, it's like, that's why, you know, Michael Luton had put a picture of Pluto coming into Aquarius as it's like a girl with a box, like, I'm moving in. But it's like, are you just taking care of the person and they're not doing anything back? They're not creating, they're not providing, they're not, you know, that's the shit that gets scary. Is you start to deal with people who need help, but they're not willing to do anything. And there's a mismatch in the masculine and the feminine with this Venus Chiron, Jupiter Chiron thing that's going to last till next year when they finally meet back up again in Taurus. So that's kind of a scary point, because those happen in the sign of the South Node dispositor. So it's like, You know, like who's able to really like, you know, be equal and provide, and or are you taking on energy where you're having to do everything and nobody's doing the other side? Like that's where it gets scary, you know. So that's the other hard part of this Jupiter and semi-square to Saturn at this moment that's happening. It's like one of those moments where we're trying to expand. We think our egos are, again, going way too far ahead without realizing the spiritual to connect with it. So, and especially with all the planets direct, it seems all good. But if you notice with all the planets direct, it doesn't feel like we're free. It's because we're really not. The planets in the back are still saying, way too much karma here. You can't just move forward. So it's not your typical all planets direct.
It's not at all.
You know, and I think a lot of people are going to have, you know, reconsiderations here about situations. You know, it's like, oh man, I thought I already went through the change. It's like, no, if it's spiritually aligned, then it was. The weird test is we have no way to know except through spirit making that call. That's the crazy part. And you'll know because your gut will be like, fuck, I already know, but I don't want to deal with it. And I'm just going to keep believing that it will be okay. I thought it was weird. I talked all about last week, Jupiter and Chiron and the sacrifice that Jupiter, you know, forces Chiron to go through. That just was happened in front of all of our eyes with the banking stuff. So again, it's like one of those places where I feel the revolution could be the most extreme thing. If the banks fail, but yet all those people got their money from SVB, the depositors, but none of us can get our money back. And it made me start thinking of how World War II times came on how people already, I saw in all the comments on Twitter and stuff, right? It started to be like, let the fucking Silicon Valley piece of shit liberals just fucking die, right? What's the difference between that and the Jews in Nazi Germany? So this is setting us up to where it starts to create this idea where people are going to start being like, oh, people from Silicon Valley or people in tech, they don't care. They're all liberals. They're not all liberals. And they're not all bad people. But you can start to see how what happened the last time Uranus was here, right? You know, it's the Jews and they're the ones, right? That's the problem. So when you start going, it's the fucking tech companies and they don't care about us, and it's the AI and it's that, they don't care about us. It's not all those people are that. And so I feel like what's the scariest part coming is the banks are going to fail eventually. I can't give you that exact moment, although I told you 2024. I think that's when it really happens. But you know, I've predicted that for 7 to 8 years. It's on my videos you could watch. But it's one of because they're going to keep repairing the system in Capricorn always, right? But they're Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids. But when it finally does break, guess who the new Jews are going to be? The tech industry. And I'm in tech, so guess what? I'm part of that group. And with all the crazy Saturn, Neptune shit, people are going to fall for this more than ever, especially people who practice occultism or all that, or witchcraft in their view or whatever. So it's going to be against the tech. The Gentiles will be the spiritual people that aren't religious. You have to remember that there was the healthcare that was part of SVB too, that they were funding all the new healthcare projects and all that shit. So again, it's like one of those things to where it's going to be, it was all them. It was 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 them. It's like companies like DoorDash or fucking Airbnb and all these other things. It's like, is it really that bad? You used it, right? But that's what I feel like the scariest wave is coming is everybody in California and tech and Silicon Valley and LA and all that are going to be the Jews.
Yeah, don't point the finger.
No.
That's very South Node Libra, right? Them. Everything outside of yourself. No. Yeah. Like we have to take responsibility for ourselves. So anytime we're going to just sit and throw someone else under the bus or say it's all them, it's all this fault, it's that, we're not doing ourselves any favors moving forward.
No,
Even
and these are the
currently.
same people who invested in crypto that everybody wants to have crypto for, but yet they're screaming at these people to fail, yet they're the ones who provide the crypto services that make crypto happen. So it's so weird. It's like super inversed. You know? The bank that provides stable coins that make people go, you know what, I want to get out of Bitcoin right now because it's going down, but I don't want to have to put my money into cash to lose money, so I'm going to go into a stable coin. Without that, to move between different fucking currencies in crypto, you'd be an idiot and you'd fail probably and you'd lose more money. Stable coins have been one of the best things that ever happened in crypto, to be able to pull out and keep your money in a stable coin and then be able to move it to another fucking investment and then peek out of that and then move out and take some cash and some winnings, and also to not get taxed in a certain way by keeping it in a stable coin. Like, people don't realize that other side. I also understand the side of people feeling like that they're unfair, but that's the part of the world, right? California is where all the tech is. If you're not into tech and you're in Hoboken, Texas, and there's not a lot of tech there, even though there actually is in Texas, so we've got to pick somewhere else like Montana, right? You can't be mad because you're not part of that, because you choose not to be part of that. Like, it's one of those things to where that the demonization of who and what, when it's the bank, it wasn't the people in the bank. But at the same time, is it not? It's kind of not fair that the fucking feds are going to bail out the people who are in that bank. And if they don't bail out all of us, if that were to happen to all of us, that's where it's going to get fucking dicey. And I almost feel like they're setting that up on purpose, right? Some New York Post came out, or New York Times today came out and said, well, it's part of the woke California thing where if you're a big company, like you're a C company, a corporation, that you have to have a woman and you have to have somebody that's, you know, of LGBTQ and all that on the board. And so they pointed that out, that in California, when they made the change for SVB Bank, that they added some women and they added some people from that community on, and that's why it failed. Now, I'm not saying that's true, right? And then they started to call it a white supremacist New York Times, right? But it's like one of those things where it's like, well, what stuff is actually to where we're forcing diversity, and does it actually equate to like smart? Same thing in the military, same thing in all these other places. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that these are things that are being talked about and that they're being looked at, right? Like, if in California, you're forced to, if you go that big of a company, to have an equal amount of, you know, you have to have a certain amount of women on board, and have to have certain people that are misrepresented, that have to be in decisions that make the decisions for the corporation and other people's money. So not based off the merit if they're good or not. You know what I mean? Like, just based off their gender or what they identify with sexually or their skin, right? So like, that's getting to where that's where I feel like the fire is more than, oh my God, we're going to lose all the money. The fire is in who's going to be the evil ones. That's exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. And it was because the bank problems, and it was because of financial collapse that Hitler rose up and pointed at a certain group of people, which in this case, you're already seeing it at the tech. So, and you can say you don't agree with their woke ways and all that, but that doesn't make them bad people enough to kill. That you know, like, you got to remember that, because you're also throwing me in that boat. I've been in the tech industry. I've worked. Venture capital is what helped me build the first app. If it wasn't for a VC group that I went through, I would have not been able to create the Leo King app. And even though we shared, it doesn't matter. It's just like, that's one of those things where it's a 50-50 thing. They own the app, I own my trademark, and they helped me make it happen for 4 years, until when I finally decided to leave and get out of the contract, and it got a little messy, and I had to switch and make my own platform and build this place on my own. But it was one of those things to where I wouldn't have been able to get there without that. And they're not bad people at all. They're good people. But, it gets weird and all those kind of, 8th house gets sloppy. when it comes with money. So, you know, they're going to build up the enemy, and who's the savior? That's Pluto. And right now it looks like they're trying to show, which we all know is not true, Secretary Yellen and the Fed as the saviors. And the bad people are bankers, and the bad people are tech people. That's very Pluto and Aquarius. It's no longer the bankers of real estate and all that shit, right? Now it's the bankers of tech and startups. It's kind of scary. You know, because whoever's going to be the hero is the closest representation of Hitler. You know, because when Pluto came into Aquarius in 1777, it was Uranus in Gemini. That's different than having it with Uranus in Taurus, which brings back the Pluto-Uranus square that we've been going through since 2012 through 2015, and that is coming back. We have to remember that technically the Pluto-Uranus square didn't end until 2018. Then it came back, and it wasn't until 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 that we had a break from Pluto-Uranus. It's coming back. And this one's coming back in fixed signs, and now it's going to fixate on who's the person who's bad, who we need to break away from, and we need to do it. It's going to be nuts. People keep forgetting the Pluto-Uranus square is coming back in 10 days. And 2012 through 2015 were a lot of the secrets to understand a Pluto-Uranus square that goes back to the 64-65 conjunction of Pluto-Uranus, right? That was an opposition to Saturn and Chiron. So it's like, this is gnarly shit. So it's much deeper than, you know, if you see some person online being like, this is where to put your money, put it in crypto, put it in Bitcoin, put it in gold, put it in silver, put it in this bank, put it in that bank. Blah, blah, blah. Focus on your spiritual self and your mission. And make sure that everything in your mission, everything that you're connected to is really fueling your mission. Or are they holding you back? Or is it holding you back? You know? You got to be honest. Taurus is honest. It knows who's the worker who's not showing up on the farm. You know? It knows what piece of equipment isn't working anymore. You know, but Scorpio doesn't want to see that. Scorpio's like, well, the sex is good, or, you know, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to have to go through this change because that's going to be harder. The change is going to be harder. That's when you know you're in a bad place. You can't be afraid of it all falling apart because that'll take you to paradise, believe it or not. Wherever you're too emotionally attached to, I don't want to go through that change. I have nowhere to go next. Probably where you need to look where the problem is, not so much your bank. So, well.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Great advice. I don't have anything to add to it.
Well, it was great. Make sure you find Brian Fixed Air Moon. He's on YouTube. He's on Instagram. He's on Twitter. But I think your Twitter's what? I always get that one wrong.
No, Twitter, that's all Fixed Air Moon.
Oh, it's all Fixed Air Moon.
Yep.
And High Vibe TV and my Pluto Masterclass on High Vibe TV. Or you can find me as Leo King too below. But High Vibe is where it's all at. That's where everything is. Even I went really deep into all the Pleiadian channelings I had done for all the years and said that it would be cut off. It's finally opening the gate again. I talk about some of the mothership stuff. Be on High Vibe. It's not here on YouTube. Appreciate you all. Good to see you, Brian. Whatever you need, we're all here. You can find us at High Vibe or you can find Brian at Fixed Air Moon. Adios.
Adios.